What's up, fam? How's everyone doing tonight? Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Oh, what is this? All this stuff. What's up, MG? How you doing? Happy Wednesday. Media Noche 0 subs up. Hey, Slime Yeshua, gang gang. I love it. What's up, Purple Shadow? Good to see you checking in. I'm checked in. What's up, Supreme Sensei? What's up, Soul Supreme 93, Key Lime TV? How's everybody doing? KB Brown 87, Lacerated Digits. I know it's only Wednesday. It is wild that it's only Wednesday. Sicko 93, what's up? Yo yo yo. What's up, Walter? How you doing? Happy Hump Day. What day is it? Hump Day? Absolutely. We're the camel today. What's up, Squirrel Noises? Good to see you. Welcome back. Welcome back. Dame Shah, I think we all wish it was Friday. Days have kind of just been going together. It's been kind of interesting. That down just a little bit. What's up, 88 Opus? What's up, Sean from LA? What's up, Pepper Suos? Good to see you. Good to see ya. All right. I don't know if anyone saw my tweet because I just tweeted it out, but a little bit before each of the streams, I've done a lot of these slides a while ago, so a little bit before the stream I start to go over just to like look at what's going on tonight. For the most part, just kind of wrap my head around what we're doing, because it's been a while since I looked at some of the stuff, and I was going through the slides and I was like, woof, tonight's an interesting night. It's a very interesting night. I think you'll be fine. I think you'll be completely fine, but tonight is a lot of information, so I tweeted it out just to give a few people a heads up. You know, those who saw it, I'll give you a heads up. Tonight will be a lot of information. We'll get through it. Don't sweat it. You know, we're taking what you can. You miss things, don't tune out. Just keep picking it up. You know, if you missed a section, you don't understand a section, you know, just keep moving along with us. And you can kind of go back later to fill in the gaps. But I don't want you to get stuck on a certain piece. I don't want you to get stuck on a certain piece tonight. I don't necessarily think the things tonight are super tough. But there's just a lot of concepts, I feel like, and kind of the way they work together is a little confusing. If you already a part of the intro to Linux piece of Decoded, you have a little bit of a leg up here. We're gonna do a little bit more Linux, hopefully, tonight as well. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty good. What's up, Mikey 171? I'm doing good. I'm doing pretty darn good, actually. I feel good. You know, I got a lot of rest. Yesterday was actually a day, something we do at my job called Hooky Day, where we kind of take the day off work and we usually do something fun together. In previous years, we've done some dope stuff like go karting. We went glass blowing after we went go karting last year, so that's pretty cool. This year, like, they sent home some boxes. We had a couple different options. I made hot sauce. There was candle making. There was beer brewing. A bunch of different stuff. So that was fun. So that was a nice little relaxing thing. Also, you know, and tomorrow I'm a part of like a little business incubator, so tomorrow I also don't have to go to work, but I do have to go to an all-day session for that. So I don't know, I think just mentally being off of work for a little bit helps a little bit, even though I'm still doing a bunch of stuff. Halfway through 316, kind of jump in here. Absolutely, you can definitely jump in here. 316 was the IAM stuff. We're gonna do very little with IAM tonight, so don't sweat it if you are only halfway through there. You may have to jump in to do a little bit to get some of the stuff deployed tonight, but you could definitely jump in here. You should definitely jump in here. That's one of the things. Maybe for the program, like only for Decoded, only for the programming one, am I really gonna say it's super important? Not super important, but where it's a little more important to have picked up the previous concept. Those kind of build, these do as well, but I think they're also most of them are independent concepts in the cloud. So I think you can, you know, don't sweat it if you miss stuff. I think you should still keep going. I think you'll be fine. I have a Mac and I want to learn how to run Linux through VirtualBox. Yep. Yeah, if you want to, it's like I said, it's relatively simple. Let me actually send you a link right now. Let's go ahead and find that video for you, the exact one that you need. It is in DevOps Bootcamp. The exact one that you need is this one. We talk about different Actually, I'm going to add these in as resources for today's class, because we're going to be learning some Linux tonight. We're going to be learning all about Elastic Compute Cloud, EC2, which is a pretty integral part of AWS. We're also going to be learning about a little bit of Linux concepts, because it's going to be important as we mess with this a little further. We're actually going to deploy some stuff. We're going to install some stuff, set up some web servers on Monday, but we're going to do a lot tonight as well. You need kind of that basis. It's going to be good for your cloud career, period. Are we using a CLI mostly, or GUI? We learn different services. Mostly the GUI, because this is centered around the cloud practitioner cert. But we will be doing CLI, like I'll be filling it in with some CLI information as we kind of go through that stuff. But that will, at Mgene, that will show you how to install VirtualBox, kind of give you some background on kind of what a hypervisor is and kind of what you're doing there, and how to get Linux installed. It's pretty straightforward. So let me know if you have any questions. What are your perspectives on how know when you're ready to jump into career in cloud DevOps? That's a tough one. I think this is one of the hardest parts of tech, period, is everyone wants to wait until they're ready. I actually think every single job you get in tech should be a little above where you're ready, what you're ready for, to be honest. But I would say that the point in which you are ready is as soon as you are semi-comfortable having a conversation with someone about the things you know, even if it's not a lot. What's more important about getting that job is the comfort level that you have being able to express it and to speak it. So I would say once you're comfortable enough expressing to someone else what you know, go ahead and start applying. Go ahead and start looking around. I don't think there's a good way to say this is the right time for a cloud or DevOps job. Spend the time picking up the skills, spend time practicing, talking to people about what you know, have conversations about it. And once you're able to confidently speak about the things that you do know, again, it's not important about what you know, it's how confidently you can speak about those things that you do know, then I think you're ready. You're on Windows, will you be left behind here? No, you will not. Everyone who's in Windows tonight, I'll show you what to do. Actually, it's probably good for everyone to do, but yes, no one will be left behind tonight, depending on your operating system. Terraform I've been running, that's dope. Terraform's great. And will learning this on Windows impact my ability to get a job? No, it will not. It will not. Yo, what's up, Shade? How you doing? What's up, Headringer? What's up, Bless K? Are you planning to do mentorship? So I'm not sure exactly what you mean by mentorship, but I am open to answering questions. Just because I still have my full-time job and everything, I can't really provide any like one-on-one mentorship. But I can do I can do my best to help you find a mentor. There are a number of people I know who do cloud mentoring and stuff around this in the industry, but I can help you get connected with some other people. But I'll try to answer as many questions as you want. You probably won't get your answer in the time span that you would like, but I do my best to do that. Okay, what time is it? 7:08. Let's do this. This is like I said, a lot of information. And we're gonna go through it relatively quickly. So a lot of slides tonight, more slides than normal. We're gonna run through them. We're also gonna be hands-on at the same time. So here's what we'll do. Let's start these up. Everyone also who wants to follow along, we are gonna be provisioning an EC2 instance tonight. We're gonna be clicking around in the console as well. So, and we'll do a little bit from the command line, but go ahead and get logged in to your console. So we're gonna go to console.aws.amazon.com and we are going to get logged in. So I'm logging in as my root user. I highly recommend that you log in with the user that you did last time. Or you can be like me, like I said, do as I say, not as I do. I don't even know if I gave that other user anything to do. What's up, Sham Khan? Welcome to the channel. Thank you for the follow. What's up, Sayers? Welcome to the channel. Thank you for the follow. Cyber Hacker, good to have you. His Royal Freshness, welcome. You killing these people? Yeah, you killing these people? What's up, man? I think. Taking this course in Dakota with my sister. Excellent. That's dope. That's awesome. I'm glad you're doing that. What's up, Kosho? How you doing? Welcome to the channel. I like the little Python emoji there. I'm just getting logged into my AWS account. I was looking for my Authy app. so that I could do this. Wrong one. So do I have enough time to type it? I'm a slow typist. Put it in my MFA code, and just like that, I'm logged in. So go ahead and get logged in just so that you have the console available to you, so that you can also click around while we're clicking around. But to start, we are simply going through some slides, and there are a lot of slides. Let me get you the link. And before this, I actually removed some slides. Last edit 30 minutes ago, I removed some slides because there were so many. And I think we're gonna cover those concepts still, but like, it was a lot. It was daunting when I was actually looking at it. Anyone with a link? Let's get this link. So the account ID for the IAM user would be whatever the account name you made last time. So if you spend time doing what we did last time, whatever user you created last time would be the IAM user. If you don't remember, you can log in via your root account. Or you could do something. If you set up your command line, you can go to Google and you can say, hey, I don't know how to use the command line, but I could say AWS CLI list all IAM users. And maybe, you know, you can, it might be hard again to see this first time, but maybe I can try list users. This is actually not something I do. So let's see if we can just do that real quick. And you can say, hey, I don't remember what the user I set up was. I can do AWS IAM list dash users. And look at that. These are 3 users I have set up. This is my root user. This is that other Circle CI user I set up. And you can even look at the created date. We did this on 5/12. So you can look at that. Did we do this yesterday? No. What's it? Oh, this is got it. Never mind. This is UTC time, so maybe it's a little off. But yeah, you can probably find it that way if you want to as well. If you did not give this user like admin privileges or enough privileges to be able to spin these things up, you can log in with your root user tonight. Again, I think it's fine for you to log into your root user for your personal account, but for an organization, you're never going to want anyone to log in as that root user. You are going to want to use the IAM user. That command was AWS, so it's always going to start with AWS. It's going to be the service that you want to work with. So IAM is the service we want to work with, and again, that's Identity and Access Manager. And the command we ran was list users, and I got that by looking at Amazon's documentation for list users, and it just says list the IAM users that have specified path prefix. And so I tried it out, and it worked just fine for me. So AWS IAM list dash users. Don't sweat it if you can't get logged in. There'll be time for us to spend time getting logged in if you're having trouble now. Let's dive in. Did I share the link? Yes, I did. Get on in there. EC2 plus Linux. Tonight, you will understand why I said it was just the cloud is just someone else's computer. Tonight, I'll be able to say, told you so. It's just someone else's computer. And there should be a picture here, but there's not. EC2, one of AWS's premier cornerstone services. It is the service that you think of when you think of the cloud. When someone says the cloud, this is the service that you're thinking of. Yeah, this is the one you're thinking of. So what is EC2? It's called an Elastic Compute Cloud. Why is it EC2? Because there's an E and there's a C and there's another C. So there's 2 C's. So E, C times 2. And you might say, wouldn't that be EC? But no, the order of operations, it says multiplication first, multiplication and division first in order from left to right. So you only multiply the C out and you get ECC. So ECC, EC2. But what is it? It is a secure, resizable compute capacity in the cloud. We talked about those different resources in the cloud, compute being one of them, compute being probably the biggest one, that being the CPU, mostly the thing that's crunching data, crunching numbers, the brain of the computer. This is a secure, resizable compute capacity in the cloud. It's a virtualized server. That's what it really boils down to. The focus is on the computational power of it, but it is a virtualized server. What's a server? A server is just a computer. It is someone else's computer. So it is a virtualized cloud computer. What does virtualized mean? Well, virtualized means that it's what I'm doing right now with this VM that you're looking at. It is taking one computer, and it is allowing you to install software on it so that you can mimic, you can run and install other computers on that one computer. So let's say we take my one big Windows machine, I can install a virtual Linux instance on there, and I can install another virtual Windows instance if I want. And these are other computing instances. They're individualized, sectioned off computing instances that the computer is using some software to kind of render out, even though it's not running on its own hardware. So it allows you to run multiple operating systems inside of a single computer. But these are virtualized servers, and not even just virtualized, they're dedicated as well. But right now, think about them as virtualized servers, and they can be provisioned very quickly to allow applications to scale up and down easily. You don't yet know what scaling really is, but because they can be provisioned quickly, they can be used to meet the demands of traffic. So if a million users are hitting my site, these EC2 instances can either get larger in size, so they can give me more compute capacity and more RAM or more storage space, or they can grow in the way that they serve. They can scale what's called out, and we can have more of them. So maybe I have, one medium server, and when I need to serve more traffic, maybe I get 4 medium servers instead of just one to kind of serve that traffic. But yes, they're scalable. They can be provisioned very, very quickly. It's just a service. It's you are renting a computer. You get a couple pieces of it, which I think we go to next. And so Elastic Compute Cloud Resources, the word resources is a little weird to use here, but it has three core pieces. You basically get a whole computer with it. So you get compute capacity. So this is what you're really paying for. The vCPU, a virtualized CPU, is what you're paying for. An amount of processing power. That's what you're paying for, as well as RAM. So you kind of RAM with your CPU, you need RAM, so RAM as well, and storage. You get those 3 things. On a computer, needs storage, RAM, and compute capacity. There are other options that you can add on as well, but these are the main resources that go into an EC2 instance. And you can, again, we're going to learn about instance types in a little bit, but these are just the base things that go into them. So real quick, EC2, a virtualized computer instance. Basically, it's a virtualized instance of your Windows or a Linux server, virtualized, networked in the cloud. It's on demand, that you can get whenever you want. And it's made up of these things: this virtualized CPU, RAM, and storage, as well as some of those other resources we talked about, but at least these 3 things. All right, any questions before we talk about instance types? Is anyone not fully understanding the concept of what what a server is, or what a virtualized instance of a computer might be, before we move on to kind of the intricacies of them? Because there's a lot of intricacies of AWS. Also, it's very important that you, for the exam, if you do want to take the exam, EC2 is a huge part of the exam. So this is a very important piece of it. So great, yes, absolutely, I can absolutely explain a server. A server is simply a computer, just like your laptop, just like a desktop you may be on is a computer. It has a CPU, RAM, it has storage as well. It has an operating system installed on it, just like Windows. Some of them do have Windows installed on them. A lot of them have Linux installed. That's why we're going to be learning some Linux tonight. Linux is installed on a vast majority of servers in the world, actually. But let's take a look at what a server looks like. Some of them look like this, some of them look like this, but this right here looks like a computer. It just looks like a computer. These are also just the same thing in a different form factor, but all a server is it is a computer, just like your computer, that has a set of software installed on it to be able to serve data over a network. So it has software specific on it to be able to serve data. So I could turn my computer right now into a server simply by installing applications on it that serve content over the web, that allow people to be able to access content over the web. So servers aren't some kind of special abstract thing. They are simply computers that have a set of software on them to be able to serve out data. We will actually be taking one of these VMs on Monday, and we will be installing a web server onto them so that they can serve data over the web. But again, that's all it is. And so what happens with EC2 instances, you're basically renting one of these or a virtualized one of these. So usually these are very expensive, pretty expensive. They're pretty powerful. You can see here, this one's $2,300. That's actually pretty cheap. You know, we got one that's $4,500 here. So instead of giving access to one of these, Amazon has lots of these. They have tons of these that probably cost way more money. They have a whole lot of these servers right here, and what they do is they install software on them, and it's like, hey, this server has 400 gigabytes of RAM on it. Most people don't need that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna split it up. We're gonna use some software to divvy that up. We're gonna divide it up. That we're going to divide up some of the CPU. We have a super powerful CPU, but most people don't need that. And we have some storage on here. And what virtualization does is it splits up all of those resources into little smaller computers, basically. So this server might have 100 instances of Linux installed on it. It might have 100 different virtualized computers installed, where to you and me, as we access it, it looks like we have a whole computer, but it's all virtualized within inside of this one server. So it's turning one server into many servers. So that's all a server is. Not something super duper special. Not anything crazy. I hope that helps. But I think it might, if it doesn't help, when we actually we're going to spin one up, we're going to log into it, we're going to do some stuff on it. Hopefully it helps you understand once we get a little deeper into it. All right. So instance types. So there are many different, yes, if we want a server, we go to EC2 and we say, hey, EC2, let us rent some server space. But there are different types of servers, different types of compute capacity that allow you to, they give you some benefits in a lot of different ways. And so instead of making a bunch of slides on this is one of the things that I actually took out. I just gave you a link to the actual AWS EC2 instance type page. So every compute load, everything that someone needs a computer to do is different. You may need a computer to simply, write Word documents, and someone over here may need their computer to program on. Someone over here may need their computer to process sales information. Someone over here may need to use their computer to parse out CSVs and parse out Excel documents and things like that. I may need a computer to play games or something. So Amazon knows this. They know that everyone's applications have different needs. So there are different instance types to serve those needs. And so those instance types offer different things, like a priority in CPU. So if you need that raw power to crunch data, that raw processing power to crunch data, to crunch numbers, to perform calculations, they have instance types that give you more CPU than any of the other resources. And if you have a workload that, you do need to, you need some processing power, but that workload actually eats up a lot of RAM, and you need a bunch of RAM, and you need really fast RAM. They have workloads, they have instance types which support those workloads that give you a lot of RAM, a lot of fast RAM, as opposed to more CPU. They have ones that if you're moving a lot of data through it, that optimize the throughput of the hard drives. So there are a bunch of different instance types, and there are a bunch of different instance sizes. So let's take a look at this. So they provide a wide selection of instance types optimized for different use cases. That's the key here. That's what instance types are good for, and that is what you'll probably be asked on the exam. Is kind of why, understanding why there's so many different instance types, and it's because they fit different use cases. Part of what we're going to do in this course is to start talking about what those use cases might be. But CPU, memory, and storage, and networking capacity. So those are where the things differ. The problem with these is but these things change faster than I would like them to. They're not named in a way that is going to be super understandable for you, so don't sweat it. It's hard to remember. I actually don't know all of the new different instance types, but it will come up on the exam. They might ask you about some of the more common ones, so be cognizant of that. So you've got a couple different major categories. So you have your general purpose EC2 instances, which are primarily used, which are used more than anything else. Your compute optimized. So again, you need to crunch those numbers. These are the types that are for compute. If you need memory, if memory is key for your workload, we have memory optimized. We have accelerated computing, storage optimized, and that might be it. Yeah, I think that's it. So let's talk about the difference between those categories and talk about the instance types in them. This is not to memorize these. You do not need to memorize these instance types right now. Just going over them, start to listen about how how different they are, and just start to hear kind of what you might. I'm going to try to talk about what you might want to do with something like this. But they have A instances. I don't even know what an A instance is. Deliver significant cost savings and are ideally suited for scale out and ARM-based workloads. So that makes sense, actually. So they made it an A for ARM-based, looks like as an ARM-based processor. We're not going to dive into that, what that means. Just know that ARM-based things, or ARM processors, are generally used for smaller, weaker computing tasks. They're usually used in smaller devices. They used to be used in all these netbooks and stuff. They're making a significant, I won't say comeback because it never really went away, but they're focusing on them a lot more. It's a different it's a different processor architecture than anything than what your computer uses, or even your phone. To be honest, I think there are some ARM phones out there, but not important that you know what ARM is. But this instance type is designed to a different processing architecture, which is an ARM-based processing architecture. The T series are the next generation burstable general purpose instance types. The T series is the most common general purpose type. It's the most common general purpose type. T2s and T3s, and again, there's differences between those T2s and T3s. T3 is a newer version of the T series instances. No idea why it's a T, but again, it just gives you a good balance of CPU and RAM and storage for what you're going to be doing. But there's a lot in here. There's M6G instances. Looks like this is also ARM based as well. More M's, but again, you don't need to memorize yet. You don't really need to memorize what all these things are. What you will need to do as you get further along in your AWS career, especially for the other exams, is you'll need to memorize what the major category is for. So not just this major category, but you'll need to understand what the T series is for and what the A series is for. You won't necessarily need to know the differences between all of the different nomenclatures, but you'll need to understand what the series is kind of good for. So those are some of the general purpose ones, and like I said, the T series is going to be what most commonly people are going to be using, and it's what we're going to be using for our examples as well. So then you have some compute optimized ones. So applications that need high processing power, and they need a focus on those things are C instances. So C5s, C5N, C4s. It's also important to know that these numbers aren't sizes. C5 and C5N and C4 aren't different sizes of instances. They're different classes of instances. They get a different type of breakdown rather than being sizes. There's sizes within each of these categories. So you might have a C5 small, which may give you 4 virtual CPUs and 8 gigs of RAM and 1 terabyte of hard drive space. And then you might have a C5 large, which gives you 16 CPUs, virtual CPUs, and gives you 128 gigs of RAM and gives you 10 terabytes of storage. And then you might have a C5 extra large. So each of these can have subsets of sizes within the category. So these are classes of servers. And again, it'll tell you what they're optimized for. And then actually, as you go down, it'll tell you a little bit about their sizes, and we'll look at some charts to show you what those sizes are. It's also important to note that each of these classes, so the C's versus the M's versus the T's, they cost different amounts of money, and so do the sizes within those classes. So a T2 medium is going to be cheaper per hour or per minute or per second than a T2 extra large. And we'll talk about pricing a little bit later, but yeah, that's important to know. Here's some of the memory ones. So the R series is for memory, the X series is for memory, and a Z series, I didn't know there was a Z series. We got high memory on here. Accelerated computing. So accelerated computing is for I think this is for GPU based things and things that use other hardware based accelerators to do their processing. So the P series of processors, and yep, it uses the graphics cards, those video cards we talked about. Same thing for the G's and F's and Inf1. But again, as you can see here, there's a lot of instance types. There's a bunch of them, a lot of instance classes. It's important to know those when you really get into deep into the solutions architect stuff, because again, picking the right instance class can save you money, and it can also make your application very performant if you do it properly. But again, they all offer similar things, but again, the pricing model for each of them is different. What they excel at is different. So understanding that is key later on. Right now, you just need to know that there are different ones, and they're kind of broken up by the different resources they offer most. So then we have ones for storage. Maybe your application is just moving a bunch of data. Maybe it doesn't process a bunch of, it doesn't require, a lot of processing power, but maybe it moves a lot of data. So maybe going through your hard drives and through your network, you need some greater throughput. You need some beefy networks, and you need some fast hard drives. You can choose some of the other ones that are IO optimized for that. So save this page, head over to it. There are I don't know what the current acronym for it is. There are an interesting number of types. When I first when I took my exams, the acronym to memorize the different all the different instance types was Dr. McGift picks. But I've already seen more options in here, so I know it's changed. And again, it was relatively easy to remember, to help you remember what those pieces were. You make a nice little acronym out of it, made it kind of fun. Made it a little bit easier to remember. But I have to imagine the new acronym is tough. Don't even know what it is. But that is what an instance type is. So the type of instance, what does it excel at? And how big is it, is the instance type. Those two things. So when we get in here and it's going to ask us to pick an instance type, it'll be the first thing it'll be like it'll be a T2 dot and then the size. So medium, a T2 dot small, a T2 dot micro, a T2 dot extra large, an M1 dot large. And so again, it first starts with the class of server, the class of EC2 instance, and then the size. And that's what an instance type is: class and size. So what does it excel at? How big is it? That is what an instance type is. Any questions on that? I know that can be confusing. Any questions there? So general purpose, compute optimized, and so on. Are they major types in the series? Yeah. Yes. Are they different types? So I would say that the general purpose and compute optimize are just the major category of the problem that they solve, or the major category of the thing that you're paying for, the thing that you're getting more of. And then again, the series, I like series, the A1, the M2s, those letters, that's the class, that's the type. And then the size is the small, medium, or large, or extra small. What's up, Edogi? What's up, Alphys? Welcome to the channel. What's up, Stilo Dev? Fluffy One, Mark 68Q, welcome to the channel. Ahmad Kennan, welcome. Omar Miranda, welcome to the channel. Ezami, good to see you as well. And Saeed Bey or Bell, welcome to the channel. Good to have you. Caught us at a good point. M5D metal or die. We'll talk about those dedicated instances in a second. 5D or die. I love it. I love it. You know, real metal over here. All right, that's a lot. But we're gonna keep moving because we have a lot to do tonight. So hopefully we can get to, what time do we at? 9:30? Oh yeah, we're good. 7:35. Perfect. EC2 pricing models, because we're actually gonna build these tonight. We're gonna build one of these. We're gonna see it. We're gonna contextualize all of it in the console and do it tonight. EC2 pricing. Appreciate that, Media Noche. Thank you for the tier 1 sub. It's good to have you as a part of the family. Love to see it. EC2 pricing model. How much do these things cost, and how do you pay for them? So there are different models that you pay for. So because there's so many, because there are different sizes, I'm not going to give you any exact prices, but I'm going to show you where to get those exact prices. And part of being able to do the solution architecting later on is being able to go to the calculators and things that are available and to price out solutions. But EC2 pricing model. These models, there are 4 different models that we're about to go over that you can utilize to save the most money, or to set up the most effective solution for what you're trying to do within the cloud. And again, that flexibility is why people love the cloud so much. The first one is on demand. This is what we said about the cloud, period. On demand is the first pricing model of EC2. What is on demand pricing? Well, you pay for what you use, and you get it when you want it, for the most part. Pricing is determined by your instance type. We just talked about instance type, so that's C5 large, C5 medium. It's determined by the type, and it's charged by the hour or the second, depending on the instance type. I know that can be confusing. There's partial charging in there. So again, you don't have to, so there's no minimums, no commitment, which is great. But this is the most common, but also most expensive pricing option that's non-dedicated. I'm going to put that in there. We're going to get to dedicated in a little bit. It's the most expensive pricing option of the 3 non-dedicated options. There's 3 non-dedicated ones and 1 dedicated one, but it's the most common and it is the most expensive. So seems a little weird, right? The other 2 have a little more strategy behind them, and that's why this is the easiest to use. This is the easiest to get started with. This is what we're going to use tonight, and we're just going to on demand grab what we need, and you can get rid of it, and you only pay for what you use. That's the first piece. Any questions about on demand pricing? Again, actually, we can go to the pricing that they list here is on demand. So they list it by the hour or by the second, depending on what it is. We don't care about those. Let's go to, this is what they're talking about. They're talking about what we're talking about on here. Are they going to give me, so I forgot it also depends upon your location. So check this out. Linux, these are the A series. Let's look at like a T series medium server. It actually gives you 2 virtual CPUs. It gives you 4 gigabytes of RAM. We'll talk about EBS in a second, but it's going to cost you 4.16 cents per hour. So 4 cents an hour, a little over 4 cents an hour. And so pretty cheap. I mean, you know, that's not crazy expensive. At the end of the month, I think that works out to be like $20-something or something like that. I'm not sure. We can do some math if you leave it on at all times, but you can shut these things off. So it costs you nothing. But yeah, you can go down smaller. Stuff costs, you know, a penny an hour. So all day, you know, you're 24 cents in, takes you 4 days to get to $1, right under $1. So, yeah, you can price things out. Yes, we are building these tonight. You will not be charged for them. AWS has a free tier. We're going to be using their free tier, to use these. The free tier is like these T2 micros or T3 micros. So pretty small, but they're free. So don't sweat it. Medium average about $20 a month. I knew it. I was right on. I've never done the math. I've just spun up mediums before, and I felt like they increased my bill by like $20. So that's just kind of how the on-demand pricing works. This pricing right here is for on-demand. And you can see here, as you get larger, they charge you more per hour. Why do they charge you more per hour? Because you're using more of their resources. You're using more RAM. You're using more CPU power, and so they charge you more money per hour. So we get up to the you know, the bigger ones like the extra larges, and you're spending 33 cents. The 2XL, spending 33 cents per hour, which can add up pretty quickly. So again, be careful, but this is immense computing powers at like right at your fingertips. Like you can spin up immensely powerful servers for however long you need them. You know, if you want, I don't know why you need it, but if you need 384 gigabytes of RAM and 96 virtual CPU cores, you can happily have it for $4.94 per hour, happily, with a bunch of SSDs and a lot of space. Have fun, go do whichever you want to do, and you only pay for what you use. So that's the first pricing model. Any questions about that first pricing model? That one's pretty straightforward. It's also important to note that Amazon's free tier, we're gonna talk about the free tier tonight because we're gonna be using it. The free tier is not just a free, it's not just free for you to use that tier of servers. It is free for a certain amount of hours per month for the entire year. So once you use them up, it's gone. So if you run so you take the full amount, let's say they're going to give you 1,000 hours. We'll look up the number. Let's say they're going to give you 1,000 hours of the free tier server for the year. If you are running one at full time, but if you run two at full time, it's going to cut your time in half. So those hours run concurrently. So just be aware of that. Appreciate the host, Mr. Demon Wolf. But be aware that we'll talk about that a little more when we actually spin the server up. You will not hit anywhere near the free tier limits within this course. Not at all. So don't sweat it at all. No need to worry about that. But that's on-demand pricing. I'm trying to get through the EC2 stuff. I like 8:20, so we got to move. Reserved instances. This is another pricing model. This is the first strategic pricing model. Well, they're all strategic, but you can actually prepay to reserve some compute capacity for an extended period of time. In doing so, you get a pretty significant discount. This does have commitments. The commitment is a 1-year commitment or a 3-year commitment, and the discount that you get depends upon how much you're willing to pay up front. You can pay all of it up front. You can pay 6 months up front. You can pay a piece of it up front, and that will determine your discount. And what this does is this reserves compute capacity within AWS for you. Even if you're not using it, it makes sure that it's available, because theoretically, you know, AWS has a finite amount of resources in each region. It's possible for the US East 1 region to run out of compute space. Like, enough people could spin up servers to where if you tried to request one, there wouldn't be enough space to allocate to you. Reserving allows you to ensure that there's space reserved for you, there's compute capacity reserved for you, and you pay for it up front, and you know, use it or lose it. Basically, you're just gonna use it as you need, and you have to commit to 1 or 3 years. So you would do this when you are sure of how much compute you'll need. And so it's okay if it goes up, but when you're sure, like, hey, I'm running this service and I know it needs to run on a server, and I know it needs to run on a server of this size for, you know, for an extended period of time. And definitely, if you know it's going to happen, there's no reason for you to pay, and you know you're going to keep it up. There's no reason for you to pay on-demand prices for this. You know, just like anything else, if you pay in a lump sum, you get a significant discount. So go ahead and use this reserved option to go ahead and secure yourself space. It really is a great cost savings method. It does take a little bit of introspection and analysis to figure out if it makes sense for you. But again, if you're going to be running something for a long time and you know you're going to be keeping it up, you just do that. And yeah, it's kind of like prepaid phones. Yeah. You pay up front. Everything's cheaper if you pay up front. If you go on a Cloud Guru or something, or one of these services, if you pay for the year, you get a discount. You get a 15% discount. It can be pretty significant. It can be pretty significant for AWS. So just keep that in your back pocket. It is used as a solution to save money. But yeah, it's still a pretty simple concept. And so this reserved instance, it doesn't mean you get a server, basically. So I mean, ideally you can think about it like that, but you can you're reserving that compute capacity. So I can reserve the equivalent, basically I can reserve a T3 large for 3 years if I'd like, but I don't have to have that available. Remember, this stuff is on demand. It just means that there will always be space for me to use a T3 server if I want, and there's no reason for you not to keep it up because you're paying for it. Yeah, use it for the hours as you need it, and you can leave it up if you want, but it's prepaying for that. So that's a reserved instance. Any question about reserved instances? We're going to be setting up billing alerts, Keylime TV. Thanks for bringing that up. We definitely be setting that up, so that even if you ever get charged $1, you'll know, or if they plan on charging you $1, you'll know. And like I said, don't be too afraid of AWS. Yes, it can cost you money. AWS support is really, really good about if you're like, hey, I was learning this stuff and I didn't know what I was doing, or I forgot to cut this thing off. They're really good about not charging you, and it's not a hassle. You don't have to go through a bunch. I mean, again, don't go. This is not me telling you to go use a bunch of resources and message them and say, hey, I didn't know what I was doing. No, do follow along what we're doing. But if you make a mistake, if you click on something wrong, they're usually really, really good about it. So don't be too afraid about it. I know someone who got like $1,000 of charges removed because they left up some stuff from a conference they went to. I was like, man, yeah, I don't know who told you to click on that, but they should stop telling people that. Will they shut you down if not reserved, or is this just for spinning up new systems? What do you mean, Blackbeard? What do you mean by shut you down? Shut you down for what? Like if they run out of are you saying if they run out of space? No, if they run out of space, they won't shut you down. They just won't give anyone new servers until space opens up. But like that doesn't happen. It can happen, and I'm sure there's been times where it happened in like certain availability zones and stuff for a brief amount of time, but it's not a thing you're gonna run into. Definitely not a thing you're gonna run into. I highly doubt it's a thing you run into. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep moving. Reserved. This one is the most interesting. These are spot instances. Spot instances are where you set a price that you want to pay for compute capacity. It's like the stock market. When the price drops below your threshold, you are able to purchase that capacity. And then when the price goes back above, you are able to you lose that capacity. It gets pulled from you. So you set a price that you're willing to pay. You bid. You're bidding against other people as well, and you set the price. And you might say, what do you mean? How does the price change? The price drops. Like, why wouldn't I just pay the cheapest price? Okay, so Amazon has thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of servers. They make the most money when people are paying for what they use. They're making the most money when these things are being used. So what they do is when there's high demand on their servers, spot instances cost more money. The amount of that stuff is at a premium. The demand is high, the compute capacity is at a premium, so the cost of the unused, unaccounted for computing space, it can go up. It's a little more valuable, but when the times when their services aren't being utilized, they want to encourage people to be able to consume the resources at low demand times, so they can make money off of it. So the price, the value of that unused compute capacity goes way down because there's not as much of a demand for it. So if you have workloads that maybe you have a processing workload that does, that's not super time sensitive, and you built it in a way that it can, it doesn't need to be done continuously and it can withstand breaks and stuff. You can set your price, say how much how much compute capacity you want, and what will happen is these spot instances can automatically be allocated to you when the price goes to the price that you want. Your workloads can automatically run on them. You can use that compute capacity. You can have those processors, those cheap processors, chewing through your data, chewing through your information. And then once the demand increases again for this unused server space and it gets higher than, you know, the price you set, you lose that capacity, and your you know, your workloads kind of stop for those services. So I know you might be like, why would anyone ever have something like that? There's a lot of reasons why you would just sometimes want some on-demand capacity. It's also a little bit again, it's very much like bidding and stock market and stuff. Like they'll there's some ways you can play this. There's like all these threads and stuff out here about how people have like really played the spot system game to get like significant compute power for cheap, because you know there's almost always extra compute capacity, and like, yeah, they'll play some games in the back end of Amazon to, you know, yeah, the price is currently this much per hour, but like we got people on the line that are saying they'll pay this much, give it to them, go ahead and give it to them. So it's pretty interesting. It's very interesting, and it is almost like futures investing. So basically for this, you don't, all you need to know is set your price, you know, work with your organization, find a price that you're willing to pay for extra compute capacity. If you got some extra money in the budget, you know, set that minimum price and set up everything you need so that when that price does happen, they'll extend to you the resources you need, and your workloads can do what they need to do. But yeah, so no commitment here, but capacity is not guaranteed. It's possible for you never to get it if you set your price at a certain place, but you'll likely get it. You'll likely get it. Will spot always be lower demand, or can it outpace? It can outpace on demand. It can in fact outpace on demand. I don't know how often it happens, but it can outpace on demand, which is really weird. And I didn't, so that was a question that someone actually asked at reInvent. It's pretty interesting. It can, I don't think it does, but it can. I don't think it does often, but it can. Doesn't make any sense. Are spot instances available immediately? They're available immediately if the amount you're willing to pay, if the cost of these instances right now is the cost you're willing to pay, yes. If not, if the amount that you bid is if the cost of the instance space is too high, you'll need to wait for the prices to drop, and then they'll give you a little message when you have them, or they'll automatically assign them to you so that you can use them. Usually you'll set some things up so that you can take advantage of them instantly. You'll put them behind, we'll get to load balancers and stuff. Usually you put them behind load balancers or something so that they can be a part of processing your data. But we'll be doing some things with spot instances, or trying to at least. Hopefully we'll get some. And then the last of the four is dedicated host. What if I want to bid higher than regular price? It's a good question. We could try and see. These are interesting questions, because I mean, I don't know. I know that it can go above because someone's asked that question before. But yeah, I don't know why you would ever want to. But yeah, here's the reserve method. Can I loan my server out to someone using spot? I hope that makes sense. I don't know. That's a very good question, Hugo. See, I love questions like that. That's I don't know. I'm not sure. That's interesting. I doubt it. I don't think there's anything you can do. I'm sure Amazon does some, they do a lot for efficiency in the background. They probably do some weird stuff when you're not using yours anyway. But yes, I also think there's an aspect of reserved instances that affects the price of spot instances as well. But can you partition these services? Yes. Yes. Servers partition them as in partition drives on them, or partition drives on it. If you were being partition services, like separate your services among spot instances, yes. Partition drives, yes. We'll talk about EBS volumes tonight. Yes, you can. You can. So, all right, dedicated hosts. This is the last one. So instead of using a piece of a virtualized servers, some people need dedicated hosts. This is the entire physical EC2 instance. So it's not split up to a bunch of operating systems. It's not multi-tenant. Any other EC2 instance that's not dedicated is multi-tenant. That means there are other people on that server with you. They have no access to what your stuff is. They have no access to your stuff. You're all sectioned off, but there are other people on the same hardware as you. Dedicated host that means there's no one else on that hardware. You get the entire picture of that server that we saw. You get all of that, all of it's yours. You get this whole thing right here. You get all the power of it. Now you might say, is that really expensive? Yeah, it's pretty expensive. It's more expensive. What this really helps with, the reason you would want to go with dedicated hosts as opposed to a bunch of smaller, more nimble hosts that can be scaled up and scaled down, is for software licensing. And this is good for anyone who wants to go into solutions architecting. Software licensing, so maybe you have a software that you pay per server or service, and maybe you have a bunch of auto scaling servers, and you have, you're running 40, 50 smaller VMs. You got to pay license fees for all of those. So dedicated hosts may be an option for you, to get all of that power. That you lose some of the functionality of the availability of the scalability as well, but what you do get is possibly a lot of saved money, because you're only operating off of one much larger host. So yeah, dedicated host is just a dedicated server for IT. Okay, cool, perfect. All right, so I think it was the last section to talk about before we actually go spin one up. Oh no, I think there are 2 more sections. Let's keep moving. You remember when virtualization didn't exist? I do not remember when virtualization didn't exist. There's a number of different virtualization services. They are listed so that you understand virtualization a little bit better. Like I said, I will add that video for that Linux part 1 that we did into the homework assignments, because I talk about the different types of hypervisors, different types of software, kind of what virtualization is at a different level. But yeah, it's VMware service. That's dope. I mean, I used to work with the VMware heavily. Like I said, I come from a systems background. I did a lot with VMware, a lot with Zen. I worked a couple web hosting companies, did a whole lot with Zen, a lot with a little bit with KVM. All right, so storage on, I did not mean to write ECS. Let's go back. I meant to write EC2. See, you get confused. There is a service called ECS that actually runs on EC2, on top of EC2, but don't worry about that right now. It's for something completely different. But storage on EC2, so we said, RAM, we said CPU, all of that is on here as a part of your EC2 instance. Storage on EC2. How does EC2 handle storage? And this is the part that really throws people for a loop, or I find that people get a little bit confused with. It has 2 forms of storage. EC2 has 2 forms of storage. The first one is instance store. So this is, when you think about a computer, again, you need an operating system on it. So that operating system is saved onto a drive somewhere, and your computer is booted off of some storage. And you need to have stuff there to save files and things. The first option you have here is the instance store. What is this? This is ephemeral block storage that backs EC2. What does that mean? So we're going to talk about block storage versus object storage next week when we get to S3. Just know, we'll talk about that later. I want that in there now. I want a block storage in there so that you would see the word block and you will be attributing the word block storage to EC2 and EBS when we get there. But we'll put that into context when we get to S3 later. But ephemeral is the key word here. Remember, we talked about ephemeral when we talked about RAM. And so it's not quite like that. It's not quite like RAM storage. It's not volatile like that. But what it is it is storage that is attached to your compute instance. So EC2 is the elastic compute cloud. The thing that you're paying for, the thing that you're really paying for is the compute capacity. The hours that you're paying for are mostly the amount of things it can process. And so storage is actually different from this. They give you storage as a part of this, but it's actually different from this. But instant storage is the one you get kind of by default, but it does not stick around. You delete the instance, that data goes away. You know, you remove the instance, that data is completely wiped out. It doesn't stick around, and that can be frustrating for people, especially when, you know, these are on-demand instances. Like, what if I, you know, just did a bunch of stuff on this server, and I need, you know, I need my next server to have all that data, and like, what, like, if the data goes away, what was really the point of it? This is an option you have, but this is not the main option that people use. They give it to you, it's a part of the service, but again, it's ephemeral storage. And so, you know, that guy's having a bad day because he has ephemeral storage. He stored all that stuff and then he knocked it all over, and now his stuff's gone. I mean, I hope he survived. I hope they didn't make it. I hope we're not watching a gif of a death, but I'm assuming it was on Giphy, so it was, you know, someone vetted it, right? Yeah, you know, no big deal. But yeah, delete the instance, delete the data. Pretty important. This is the bigger one. This is the bigger concept here. I've never purposely used, had a reason. No, I lied. Instant storage is like, it's fine. It's fine. You might use it if you are, if you're using like a spot instance or something. Instant store may be fine. Maybe you're not saving any data at all. Maybe you don't need this, but this is the real storage that backs EC2. So EBS. It's interesting because if you go into the AWS console, I do not think EBS it's not its own service. It only exists inside of EC2. I think if I type in EBS, EC2 will come up. Yep, EC2 comes up if I type in EBS. It is not a service, but it is a very important piece of storage inside of Amazon. EBS stands for, and let's put it in here. EBS stands for Elastic. We'll talk about elasticity, but elastic block storage. And remember, this is why I wanted you to see the word block. There's a video as a part of the homework or the materials that talks about block storage, but it is elastic block storage. And yes, these are like your traditional hard drives. This is the non-ephemeral storage that backs EC2. So these stick around. You can mount multiple EBS volumes to an EC2 in the same availability zone. So let's break that down. Let's break that statement down real quick. EBS volume. Again, think about a hard drive. I wish I had one. I had one sitting around for a little while, but think about, you know, a hard drive, even an SSD or a hard platter drive. In your computer, you could have multiple hard drives. A lot of you have different drives. On Windows, you have your C drive and maybe you have a D drive or something. But you can have multiple hard drives and you can attach multiple EBS volumes to one EC2 instance. So multiple EBS volumes, multiple storage volumes to one EC2 instance, but they have to be in the same availability zone. They cannot be in different availability zones. So that's very important to know. But it is not vice versa. You cannot attach multiple EC2 instances to a single volume. So it's just like think about it like your computer hard drive. It really is a computer hard drive. And you cannot take your hard drive and plug it into multiple computers at once. It can only go into one, but you can have multiple hard drives in your computer. This works the same way. The reason they have to be inside of the same AZ is mostly for networking, but we'll talk about that later as well. You do pay money here. You pay for the storage. It's pretty cheap. It's pretty darn cheap. But you do pay for the storage you use. So if you have, you know, 30 gigs of data saved, you do have to pay for that. We'll look at pricing for that. But it has the reason why EBS is so amazing. One of the reasons is it has excellent backup functionality via snapshots. So it has a thing called snapshots where it will take a snapshot of your data so that you don't have to worry about it's your way of backing it up. And then it does some crazy magic to where when you need to make a new backup, let's say you make a backup of 30 gigs of data, you make a snapshot of 30 gigabytes of data. You might think if you make like a common practice is to make a snapshot daily, so that you always have your data. If tomorrow, if I have 3 more gigs of data on there, so now I have 33 gigs of data. When I take that next backup, you might say, dang, if I got to pay for how much I use, I got to pay for 30 gigs of that snapshot and then another 33 gigs, and then every day it's another 30 gigs. No, they do incremental backups. They do incremental snapshots, which is crazy. So that second snapshot is only the 3 gigs that wasn't there the day before, which is like, when it comes to storage, this is masterful. This is like, it's phenomenal tech. It's really good. It saves you a lot of money. It's really cool in the way that they've implemented these things. It's pretty dope. It's almost like Git, honestly. What's up, Alt F4? Thank you so much for the raid. Welcome, raiders. It shouldn't be in followers only chat, I don't think. If it is, I'll do followers off. Yeah, should be followers off. I'll let you guys get to your commercials there. How you doing tonight? How was your stream? What'd you do tonight? We are going over lots of AWS stuff. We're also going to learn a little about Linux. We're going to spin up some servers tonight. It's going to be dope. But welcome to the channel, Raiders. Good to see you. Can I get an EBS as an SSD or very fast IO storage? Great question, Mr. Demon Wolf. Yes. So we didn't talk about it yet. I think it's next. But yes, there are different types, just like there are different classes of EC2 instances. Remember, during that process, the different classes, there are some that are optimized for throughput, for storage, and for networking. So that means that there are, if you can optimize your storage, that means there's probably optimized drives. And that's what you can choose here. There are different types of drives you can put in your computer. And so there are different types of EBS volumes that are good for different things. If you are, your general purpose thing is going to be your SSD, your solid state drive. So again, magnetic disks used to be the way to do things, and a lot of people still have those in their computer, but they're kind of slow. So they're actually spinning disks that have a needle reading off of them, like a record. They spin very fast, and it picks up blocks. It basically picks up blocks off this disk, and it sticks them together, and it gives it to you. That's how you access it. You access these different blocks on the platter. SSD is flash storage. It's much faster, more expensive, but much faster. And it comes in smaller capacities, but it's pretty quick. It's definitely pretty quick. And they all just, the different types they have. So general purpose, GP2 is going to be the main one that you get. But then there are ones that are provisioned for additional IOPS. So input outputs, input output performance. Like it allows you to, if you need to move a lot of data, you need to, you're writing or reading a lot of data, you can use one of these. You can pay more money to do one of these to get more max throughput speed, or you can pay for different IOPS. You can pay for so if you're saving a bunch of data that you don't need to access super quickly, maybe you want to grab one of these HDDs because they're cheaper. Right now the pricing isn't significant enough. I don't really recommend it right now for most people's things, but there are workloads in which it makes sense for. But there are different types of storage devices that you can use. The last big thing about EBS is EBS volumes are not tied. Again, they're not tied to an EC2 instance. They are attached to an EC2 instance. So if I get a M2 medium, I get an EBS volume along with that if I ask for it, but they're not together. If I remove that instance, that EBS volume remains around, and I can actually detach a volume from one server and actually reattach it to another server. You can move them around, so they're really completely independent from each other, but it is the storage that backs that instance. So it's very interesting. And again, appreciate the raid, All Death 4. Welcome to the channel tonight. I hope everyone's through your ads. But how y'all doing tonight? What did you do tonight on the All Death 4 stream? But definitely check it out. I really need to get a shout out command, and let me give you VIP Alt F4. Let me do that real quick. The Alt F4. One day I'm gonna learn to type fast. Cool, now you're VIP, there we go. Bringing the app I built on stream quick back to life. Basically a Stream Element, Streamlabs competitor, but entirely in TypeScript. That's dope. I like TypeScript a lot. As someone who prefers statically typed compiled languages, I like TypeScript for static typing a dynamic language for me. Finally fixed all the Twitch API changes. That's dope. I'm very interested in all of the Twitch development. A lot of live streamers here do, like, very interested. That sounds pretty dope. Everyone who's in Decoded, anyone who's in the programming portion of this, check out all F4. Like, that's exactly the stuff that you should be watching. That's exactly the type of stuff you should be immersing yourself in. Seeing people actually build some cool things that is relevant to the stuff that you're doing. Like, you're watching stuff on Twitch. If you want to know how some of those interactions happen that we do, check that out. You can definitely do that. So, give out a follow. I'm gonna make a shout out really soon. I already made a shout out command. Oh my gosh, I don't know how to use it. I don't know, but it looks like you might already did it. You're a beast. Oh, I see you already did it. Man, I look at that. See, I don't even know enough about Twitch to know that other people can make commands for me. So I appreciate you. I definitely appreciate you. If you know the Prime again, he uses our WebSocket for, oh yeah. I mean, yes, we've been on Prime again a couple times. He used your WebSocket. Okay, that's dope. He does a lot of stuff with WebSockets. That's awesome. All right. We have a lot to get through, so let's keep going. Any questions about storage? Any questions about storage? I know that was interesting, but the thing that you need to know is Instant Store. You need to know about it a little bit. Just know that that will go away when you remove the volume. That data does not stick around, and you can't detach it and reattach it. It's data you get, and it is kind of tied to the instance. And when the instance goes away, this data goes away. But block storage, EBS is a storage device that sticks around. It is attached to your EC2 instance. If you should delete your EC2 instance, it does not go away. You can have multiple block storage devices, multiple EBSs onto one EC2 server, but not vice versa. You cannot attach multiple servers to one storage device. You do pay for what you use. It's got excellent backup functionality via snapshots. All right. Any questions about all that? Any questions at all? If not, we will keep going, because now we're actually going to go ahead and we're actually going to build this. So we're going to stop here. There are more slides. We're only on slide 14. There are 27 slides tonight. So let's go ahead and hop. We're already in. Let's start building. Let's start building our first EC2 instance. Let's start understanding, contextualizing all the stuff that we've just gone over. The throughput for the magnetic looked correct in the table. Let's see. Let me go back to where it was. I just grabbed the it doesn't it's interesting. It's so IOPS is different from it doesn't look right. It does not look right. I don't know. Let's see. Let's Google it real quick. EBS volume type throughput. Volume types. Let's check the official stuff and see if they give us some actual numbers. Yeah, this is the one that I was confused about. The one for this might be old. The one for the one we have might be old. This is the one I thought was wrong. This one looked right for me, right to me. This one looked. This one is the second one over is the one that looked wrong, which it is. So this might be a little bit old. We'll update this one, and maybe I can link to this in here. How do I just put a link in here? Slide, apply layout. I'm so bad at like Excel, I mean, or slides or any of that stuff. Watch this. I know it's sloppy and it's probably gonna mess with somebody's. We're gonna move this up. We're gonna move this down. How do I move it down? Down. Oh, that was bad. We're gonna keep doing this so we get it right. Down. Yeah, there you go. There you go. You got a link now. So maybe we should just delete this because it's wrong. and move this up a little bit. But throughput is the amount of data that can be pushed to it, that it can push. So it is the amount of data that can go through something. This is both used in terms of networks and hard drives as well. But yeah, it's the amount of data it can push in any direction. It gets a little more complicated than that. Like data speed, like your maximum data potential and your throughput can be kind of two different things. One's more about how fast it goes through the pipe. One's more about how wide the pipe is, because they're two different things. So yeah, it can be a little bit interesting. But don't stress yourself out on these numbers. What I would do is I would go through these use cases. I would read through these use cases here and kind of just see what the different types are for. I think that's valuable. Let's make a server though. Head over to your AWS management console and let's go through this. General thoughts on self-hosting. Do you mean self-hosting on your own hardware? I say do it. I mean, if you have hardware, I would do it. The only problem is with self-hosting is your allocated IP address. Generally, it costs money from your if you don't care about other people getting to it, or you don't care about being able to get to it from a domain name, then I wouldn't sweat it. Then go ahead and self-host. But you don't have a dedicated IP address at your home. Most, like, by default, you have to request one from your ISP. So if you have Comcast, you have to request a dedicated IP address. And if you don't have a dedicated IP address, it's possible that when you restart your computer, it's possible that if your power goes out, it's possible that there are a number of things that you'll be assigned a new IP address or a different IP address than you had before. And then anyone who's trying to get to your things can no longer get to them because it's now at a different IP address. They need to know how to get there. So I think self-hosting is great if, again, it's something that you're doing for yourself and you have access to be able to change IP addresses when you need to, or if you have access to a dedicated IP address. If you pay extra for one, go for it. If you have the hardware, I encourage it. Okay, let's see. EC2. So the service that we're going to be using tonight is EC2, and so we're going to click on EC2. This is our virtual server, and they say it right there at the top. As you type it in, it gives you a little overview of what this is. Virtual servers in the cloud. There we go. That's what we're gonna be doing tonight. All right, so you get to this board. I would highly recommend you go ahead and put this in whatever region is closest to you. Make sure you're in whatever region you want to be in, whichever one helps. The prices amongst certain regions does change, but I think there's only the difference is only really in if you're in the US, I don't think it really matters, but other places around the world, the pricing in your region may be a bit different. Okay. You can see here, this is the new dashboard. If you've been in AWS before, you might have a dashboard that looks different from this. It gave me a little thing at the top, but I exited out of it. I exited it. So hopefully this is what you're all looking at. It should look something like this. Again, a lot of words here. The UX is not great. Not great at all. It doesn't make it super clear where I can just go to launch an instance, but or maybe it does. Maybe I'm lying. Maybe if I actually had this at 100%, yeah, that would make it a little bit easier, but we're making it bigger so we can all see. Scroll down a little bit. So it gives you a little overview here of your amount of instances, your amount of dedicated hosts. We just talked about those things. Volumes. So these are your EBS volumes. These are managed here. Key pairs. We're going to talk about key pairs shortly. Don't worry about placement groups right now. Elastic IPs are not to be worried about right now, but these are we were just talking about dedicated IP addresses. Elastic IPs are dedicated IP addresses. This is not an essential concept in the cloud, or at least with Amazon, because of the way that they handle some other things that allow you to not necessarily need a static IP address. Yeah, load balancers, we'll talk about all these things. Snapshots were those backups or these volumes that we were talking about, and we will talk about security groups in a second. Hello. What's up? What's that? Montreal. Welcome to the channel. What's up, Oscar? Welcome. Good to see you. Well, I think you're already in here. I think you're saying hello to Montreal. Okay, let's go ahead and make our first server. Pretty simple. We'll get up and running real fast. So launch your instance is what we want to do. We want to launch a new EC2 instance. So this is our first real journey into the cloud. We're going to provision our first real resource, even though our IAM user and those policies we made were resources. Those were cloud resources. That's what they had in ARM. That's why they had an Amazon resource name. But this is the first one that's going to make us feel really cool. So launch an instance. That's all you got to do. Click launch an instance. Now we're going to cover a number of concepts while launching this. I removed most of these from the slides, and only because I'm going to give you resources for a lot of these. The first thing we're going to get to when we try to launch an instance, it looks like we have 7 steps at the top to launch an instance, and this is going to allow us to select the things that we need. So what are we going to do here? The first thing we're introduced to is the concept of an Amazon machine image, or an AMI. Do not say AMI. I know 2 people who say AMI and it bothers me. Don't say AMI. People feel strongly about AMI. It's an AMI. You can do what you like. I'm joking. Do what you like. But Amazon machine image is what it is. And what is it? It says it's a template that contains software configurations. So an operating system, application server, and applications that you can use to launch your instance. So by default, what I want you to think of an AMI is an operating system. So we have a couple different options here. We have Amazon Linux. So Amazon created their own version of Linux that we could use with certain tools and features available to us. But you can also grab things like Red Hat. You might be familiar with Red Hat or OpenSUSE Linux or Ubuntu. So Ubuntu is what I'm using, or Ubuntu is what I'm using here as my desktop. And there's some other options. So Windows, you can do Windows. So the operating system, just like your computer. Or you have a bunch of options here. Windows, different versions of Linux, all that stuff. Now, an AMI, and I would write this down in your notes. You can build your own AMI. And so there are a lot of AMIs. So you can see here on the left, there's my AMI, so I could build my own. We will not be building any in this course. If you want to learn how to build one, we will be building AMIs in the pipelines course. We will be building them. And then there's AWS Marketplace. So there are other AMIs that contain, it's not just the operating system. You can also package up applications and stuff in here too. So maybe there's an interesting application framework that you want to use. There may be an AMI that you can just grab that you can use where you don't need to install anything. It's got everything that you need already installed. So it's the base underlying image and operating system of your computer. So I clicked out of there on accident, but we'll just go back into here. To be safe over here, go ahead and click free tier only, and this will only show you AMIs that are free. A lot of AMIs are free, but there are a number of AMIs that cost money. You have to pay licensing fees for them. So go ahead and click that free tier only to make sure you are only seeing AMIs that are available to you for free. And then community AMIs, again, these are places you can go to see other AMIs that the community has built that you can grab. For almost everything we're going to do, we're going to use one of the default Linux AMIs. We're going to use this Ubuntu one purely because we're going to learn Linux in a little bit. We're going to talk about Linux a little bit. Oh, excuse me. Wow. But the Amazon Linux AMIs work a little differently. They're really good for stuff you're trying to do on in the cloud on the web, but they operate in a weird way. They have an interesting choice of tools that is a bit uncommon. So we're just going to use an Ubuntu one because this is something that you can easily install. You can easily install this in VirtualBox or something, grab a Ubuntu server, and you can install it. So we're going to select this one. And you can leave everything by default. You can leave it as is. We're going to select the first Ubuntu one we come across. So we're just going to select that one. I want you to notice one thing here though, is this AMI ID. I'm gonna give you a little bit extra right now. I don't think this is part of the cloud practitioner exam. For you all going further than this, these AMI IDs, if you are in a different region than I'm in, this AMI ID is going to be different for you. Even the same image, the ID will be different across regions. They're not the same. You can also move AMIs across regions, but just note that my ID might be different from your ID. If it will be different if you are in a different one of these. So I'll show you. I'll go to US East Ohio, and I can do the same thing. And my free tier only, I might go down and look, it ends in BC 3BD. But if I go back down to US East, oh wait, it's gonna be the same because I said region. Never mind. Oh, actually, no, it's not. It's not even the same. Okay, it's different region. That's dumb. Never mind. I was thinking AZs for a little bit. Yeah, but you can see here that it is different. It has a different ending ID. They are different. The difference between 64-bit ARM, x86 or ARM, again, they're different processor architectures. Leave it at x86 right now. Just leave it at x86. That's what you want. That's what your Mac is. That's what your PC is. Most likely, it's x86. I would leave it at x86. So just go ahead and select that when you're ready to select it, and we can keep moving forward. So any questions about that? Is AMI similar to a Docker file? That is a great question, Boba Cat. Great question, or Bobat Cat. It's not, it has nothing to do with Docker. Nothing to do with Docker, but it does parallel kind of what a Docker file does. Because Docker files are used to build those container images. These images are very similar to that, but they're not containerized. They are they're more like it just builds an ISO file. So the tool that you would use to easily generate these is something called Packer. So if you want to check out Packer, you can start to look up things. Yeah, so when you download like Ubuntu or something, you're downloading a .iso. You're downloading an ISO file that has the operating system installed. These are just like prepackaged ISOs. Does management normally tell us what we need? Yes. I would say generally, like for operating system, I would say that if there are restrictions on things, then yes. If not, it's probably up to the systems administrator, and that's part of the reason why we're going to dive into Linux tonight a little bit, is for you to start to get comfortable enough with it to be able to go find out what the different caveats between them are, to be able to help you make your decision. For the most part, you'll be fine with any of them, to be honest. For the most part, you'll be fine. I can do the same things on all of them, but some of them present different features and different tool sets that might make some things better than others for what we're doing. Some of them value security more. Some of them value, rapid updates more. Some of them are a little more stable. So yeah. Why does it change by region? It changes by region because of the way that these things get stored, and the way that they're deployed. Also, it's worth noting that every AMI that you see in one region may not be available in another region for a number of reasons, legal reasons, licensing reasons. But yeah, it's just coming from a different storage location. It's actually a completely different image file. Like they're not being created from the same file, the same exact file at all. Docker file is containerization. AMI is yes, that is correct, Montreal. I care something worked. So what did I miss? You missed a lot. You missed a lot about about EC2 instance types and storage. But there's still a lot more. You can go back and catch the stuff that we're going over now. We're spinning it up now. We are still we're spinning up our service now. So this is where you select the instance type. So we talk about types. Remember, I said it will be the type dot size. So nano is the smallest. And check out how nano is not even free tier eligible. It's smaller than micro, but it's not free tier eligible. It has less memory, lets you know how much memory it has. And I actually think this is in gigabytes. I think that's what you call it. I don't really know what a gigabyte is, but I think that's what that's how they refer to it. But here's the size. Here's the sizing here. Whoops. Just head down to your free tier eligible one, which you'll probably already be on, which is your T2 Micro. So remember, T2 is the one, T series is one of the general purpose ones, and T2 Micro is a free tier eligible one. There might be some other ones, but I don't think so. I think it's only a T2 Micro is free tier eligible. All right. So here we go. For the first 12 months following your AWS sign up date, you get 750 hours of micro instances each month. So every single month you get 750 hours of running instances. So let's do the math really quick. Calculator, 24 hours in a day times what, 31 days, 744 hours for a month. So that's why they give you 750 for you to run it full time for a month. So that is, you know, there we go. That is what their number comes from. So you're good to go. So just to note, if you're running 2 servers for a month, it'll only be free for half of that time. So it'll only be free for about 16 days for both of those servers running. So just be careful, but it is every month. We will only be running one for now. I think gigabyte is 1000 bytes, while gigabyte is 1024. Perfect. Thank you, Frequency Hop. Thank you very much. It's always something I could have looked up. I never cared enough to look it up, and that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense, and I understand why they do that. And I almost, if you were in the bits, bytes, and binary thing yesterday, you'd understand why you can kind of get why the number 1024 makes sense. You know where that breakdown comes from. You know that that is double 512, which is double 256, which is double 128, which is double 64, which is double 32, which is double 16, which is double 8, which is double 4, which is double 2, which is double 1. And that's kind of how bytes work. So that's why you get 1024, but 1000 is just so much cleaner. I like that. I learned something new today. I appreciate you. All right, miss where you get 750 hours. No, ignore all those numbers. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I went on that little tangent. That was for, yeah, ignore that. 750 hours is how long you can run this server for free per month for the first 12 months. That's what the free tier is. The free tier is only for the first 750 hours this server is running. And it's not per server. You get 750 hours total per month for all of EC2. So if you're running more EC2 instances, more of these, then those are all eating up hours at the same time. So if you have 2 running, you have 2 servers running, you still get 750 hours, but there are 744 hours in the month, which means that time will actually go by double as fast. So you'll run out of hours in the first 16 days if you're running 2 of these servers. Also worth noting, those hours only count against you while the server is on. You cut those servers off, your hours are not being counted. So we will we'll talk about that. Oh yeah, we gotta move fast now. Okay, so next let's configure these instance details. So what do we do already? We chose the AMI, the Amazon machine image, which is Ubuntu, which shows the operating system, the underlying operating system. No, cancel. So from 1 you go to 2. We chose T2 Micro, which is the free tier. We went next to go to configure instance details. So this is going to allow us to configure specific items about our instance. You can leave everything default right now, but it tells you how many do you want. So I could easily spin up 100 of these if I want right now. That easy. That is why the cloud is powerful, but also a little bit dangerous. But I just want 1 right now. I don't need all those. And here is I can request spot instances. If I want to place my bid, it tells you the current price. I can, you know, make my bid on spot instances. That we're not doing that now. We're doing simple on-demand pricing model for this. VPC, don't worry about VPC yet. This determines your networking. Leave it. Subnets, leave it. Auto assign public IP, leave it, you know, by default. Leave all this default. You're gonna learn about what those things are. You can leave them all default right now, and go ahead and click next, add storage. Now, here is the part where you choose between just instance storage or instance storage and EBS volumes, or just EBS volumes. So by default, it's going to give you information about an EBS volume. What you can do here is you can add multiple volumes. So remember, we can have more, but you get up to 30 gigabytes of EBS general purpose SSD for free. So I'm just going to go ahead and change this to 30 because that's how much we get for free. So yeah, you might as well take the maximum, but you can pick whatever you want. Leave everything else the same. It's fine if you leave this at 8, but again, you get up to 30. I say go 30. This is just going to give you information about that EBS volume. This is your storage. You have 30 gigs of storage space. Well, 30 gigabytes here, or I can get up to 30 gigabytes though. Cool. Next, you can add tags. Tags allow you, all tags are is metadata. Metadata is just little bits of information attached to something. And so you can use that to do filtering or whatever. So I could give it a name. If I want something like name first instance is what we're going to call this one. Name, for name to be read properly, it has to be capital N, but you can make whatever key you want over here. But yeah, so I'm gonna call this first instance. Call it whatever you want. You don't have to give it a name at all. You can leave all this blank, no big deal. Yes, you can change it. Sean from LA, yes, you can change it to 30. It says 8 by default. You can make it up to 30 for free. So you can absolutely just change it to 30 if you want. Security group. This is an important feature. And no, I know, hold on. I put a security group thing in here. Oh, it's underneath everything. So let's talk about security groups real quick. All a security group is a virtual firewall that allows you to control the inbound and outbound traffic. So it's kind of your first line of defense between the data that can get in and out of your server, that can reach your server and that your server can send out. A single security group, so one security group once created, it can be attached to multiple instances. So I can create one security group that applies to, mastermind web servers, and I can apply that security group to a bunch of different servers if I want. Or I can give all those servers their own security group, whatever. But all it is a virtual firewall that helps you control traffic, inbound and outbound. So that's all a security group is. And so during the setup process for your instance, it's going to ask you about configuring a security group. You don't have to do anything right now. You can configure this. No need to configure. We don't need to learn about it right now. Leave everything by default. What it's going to do is it's going to create a new security group for you. It's going to give it a name. And the only rule it's going to give it one rule. The only rule it's going to have is for SSH. We're about to talk about SSH. And what SSH does is allows you to log into your EC2 instances. So these EC2 instances do not have graphical user interfaces. We talked about that before. They do not have GUIs. We're going to be logging into the command line interface. The way that you log into that is through SSH. Leave everything default. Don't change anything. Click review and launch. You get a whole little output, a whole summary of all of your settings. You can look through, make sure everything's good. Everything's good. We did almost all the default stuff. The only thing we changed was the amount of storage, and click launch. Now, this part's important. When you click launch, make sure you probably don't have a key pair. Make sure you do this. Don't forget to do this, or you're gonna have to relaunch your instance. Okay. We're gonna talk about Secure Shell in a little bit. We're gonna talk about SSH in a little bit, so don't sweat it. We're gonna talk about how to log in, but this part's very important. You want to use so you need a key pair. You cannot log in. Actually, let's do this now too. You cannot log into a server. You cannot log into a Linux a Linux server inside of AWS. So Windows servers have a different protocol to log in, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Linux servers, the way that you log into them is through SSH. You cannot log in, it stands for Secure Shell. You cannot log in via password. You don't just put in your username and password. You have to log in using SSH keys. You must use SSH key pairs to authenticate. So Secure Shell key pairs are what you're going to use to authenticate. There's a video and the resources tonight for you to learn about key-based authentication. You also must use the right operating system user. This is the most frustrating piece of Amazon the first time you're trying to get into an EC2 instance, is knowing what user to log in with. They do not give you this information up front, and it can be very difficult to find, or at least it has been in the past, but we're going to look it up tonight. So you cannot log in via username and password. So when you're making this instance, you need to generate a key pair. So you only need to do this the first time. Click create a new key pair, give it a name. So first, I'm gonna call this one first instance. You call it whatever you want. Make sure you click download key pair. You download it. It's gonna download a file to your computer. It's gonna be a .pem file, and you're gonna download that thing. All right, so download's there. Don't worry about it right now. Just make sure to download it before you do anything else. I actually don't even think it'll let you do anything else. Do you download it? And then click launch instance. And it will go through and it will very quickly spin you up an instance. So once you click on, so if I go back to that screen, it wouldn't even let me go back to that screen. But on that screen, I clicked on, it said, hey, you can click on this to see the progress. It'll take you to this screen here. If you don't know how to get to this screen, simply go to services, go to EC2, or type in EC2 right here, or click the first one here. And click on your running instances. You see, now I have one. I have one now. So go to services, click on EC2, go to running instances, and I have one running instance just that fast. I already have a running instance. Super quick. You can see how easy that was to spin up your first instance. Yeah, there were a number of configuration options, which can be daunting if you're not sure what you're looking at. But if I was to run through, like, watch this. Watch how fast I can do the same thing when I know what I'm doing. Amazon Linux, what's this? T2 micro, instance details. I just want one. I'm leaving everything the same. All this looks good to me. Storage, changes to 30. Add tags. Name, speed test. And security group, I'll let it create its own. Launch, I'll use the one that I already have. What do we just call this one? First instance. And launch. And now I spun up a server. So again, remember the process I said to get a server before is you got to go order one offline, wait weeks for it to get configured and come in, and then I have to unbox it. I have to put it on a rack. I have to attach all the networking things to it. I have to get it all configured, subnetted, all that stuff. Then I have to get an IP address. I have to install the operating system, install the different things. Like, it's a lot of work. There's no longer all that work. Like, we're spinning up very small servers. Very large servers take the same amount of time. Like, they take no time at all. And now, just like that, I have 2 servers running. 2 servers, just like that. Super easy, but it can be dangerous. See how fast I did that? It can be pretty dangerous, but it's also just easy to delete them. If I want to delete one, I want to delete the speed test one that just spun up. I right click it, go to instant state, and it's going to terminate. It says, hey, you sure you want to terminate this thing? And it lets you know that it's going to keep all the storage. It says, hey, on an EBS backed instance, the default action for the root EBS volume to be deleted when the instance is terminated, storage on any local drives will be lost. So it'll just click that. Oh, unable to delete. Oh, unable to, what does this say? I don't know what it says. Probably, because it's deleting. So it's shutting down and it's moving away. So right click, instant state, terminate is how you want to, how you can delete one. But we still have the one that we spun up. All right, so this is where it gets super confusing. Looking at this stuff is like, there's already a lot of crap around the screen, but right here is where you'll get all the information. Right here below is where you'll get all the information about your server. So you'll get the address that you need to go to get to it. The public address. We'll talk about DNS. We'll talk about DNS and what this public DNS address is. But they give you a public IP address. This is the IP address that your server lives at. We'll talk about IP addresses and stuff later. This is your instance ID. So this is the Amazon ID that you need. It gives you the type, whether it's running or it's stopped. And just a bunch of information about it. It tells you which availability zone it's in, because that's important. And again, think about things like that. When we talked about EBS, we talked about that elastic block storage. You can attach, you can attach some things in the same AZ. Secondary VPC ID. We'll talk about VPCs later, but it's just a bunch of information down here. All kinds of information about your server. Don't even know what it is right now. I encourage you to just look at it, see if you can see what, learn about what some of these things are. You don't need to know what everything on here is. That's a lot of crap, but you can use this information for later. But we got a server up and running. Great. If we go to it, nothing's gonna happen. Like if you copy this address right here and you put it in the browser, nothing's gonna happen. Why is anything gonna happen? Because what is a server? A server is just a computer. It doesn't, like this server has nothing on it. It's got an operating system. It's just a server just sitting out there for us to access. We also can't access it because we're actually not allowed to via the security group, but we're gonna talk about that in a little bit as well. So that's a ton of information. Oh man, we're gonna have to rush to the Linux part, which sucks. But let's get logged in. So anyone who's using Windows, this is what you, or not even just anyone who's using Windows, anyone who just wants to get logged in, we're gonna do one quick thing. So follow along with me as we do this quick thing. You do not need to log in. You can actually access your server via the console. And the way that you do this is you click services. This part's complicated. You type in session, so type in systems manager. So type in systems and it'll pop up. So look for systems manager. No, do not terminate your instance yet. Do not terminate it. I just did that extra one. If you only have one instance, do not terminate it yet. So systems manager is what you want to click on. So click on that. All right, you get to systems manager. Systems manager has a bunch of different tools, a bunch of different things inside of it to help you do stuff to manage your system, to be 100% honest. Over here on the left, scroll down a little bit. Scroll down till you get to instances and nodes and look for session manager. That is going to allow you to log in. So click on session manager. And it takes you to another screen, bunch of stuff here. So I'll let you get there. He's gonna old yeller. I like that. Yeah, pretty crappy UX to be honest. But get here. So services, systems manager. And once you get in the systems manager, over on the left side, scroll down underneath instances and nodes, go to session manager. Now, once you're here, click start session. It'll pop you to another screen. So a lot of clicks here. Okay. That sucks. I didn't know session manager required you to attach it to IAM role. All right, this is interesting. Let's create and attach. So does it need to be to a specific role? This is whack. This is fine. So we'll do this in a bit. So basically what it's telling me is it's telling us that for you to start a session using sessions manager, that an instance needs to be associated with a specific IAM role. Remember, we talked about those IAM roles are needed to describe and to attach permissions to AWS services. So we can go in and do that. But first I'll show you how to SSH in via keys, and then we'll come back and we'll do this part really quick. We got to delete this after we make sure we don't get charged. It's free forever, huh? Nope, it's free for a year if you run it all the time. It's free for a single year, but make sure you delete it tonight. You can get rid of the server. We will spin it back up tomorrow. We're actually not going to do a ton with this. We're just going to use it to learn a little bit of Linux and a little bit in a few. We need to get to it. So let's log in via keys. This part is going to throw you for a loop. Do not sweat it. I'm not gonna go super slow so you can keep up. There's resources in the classroom to help you get logged into this, to help you understand this process. I'm gonna go over it. Spend the time understanding the concept of what we're doing first. Yeah, spend time understanding the concept first. And so what we're gonna do is, you cannot log in to an instance via username and password, but you can via those keys. So we downloaded this SSH key. This will work fine if you're on Linux or Mac, or if you're using Windows and you're using this Windows subsystem for Linux, it'll work fine. You can all do the same thing that I'm doing now. If you are not running that on Windows, the paradigm in Windows is different. You actually have to use a program called Putty to do this. And that's a little bit different. There's a video in the classroom that'll teach you how to do it. Do not spend time doing it now. We don't have nearly enough time. So you're gonna have to, because this thing is this server is going to be accessed via the command line, you have to log into it through the command line. Oh, maybe you can use git bash. You can probably use git bash. You may have to install SSH though, but I think you can. Windows 10 has SSH too. Does it, or like, are you talking about WSL? Like, do you have to install WSL first, or does it just have SSH? That would be cool. If it just had, oh, it does. That's nice. Hold on, let me check that out. You're on Windows 10. Let's see what that is. Did it pop up on my computer? Nothing popped up. Or can I just run it inside of a PowerShell or something? Like, can I just do like oh, Windows, Windows, I'm in. I lied to y'all. This is great. See, people, oh man, this is Windows is stepping the game up. If you're on Windows and you're on Windows 10, then you can probably do this as well. So go ahead and follow along. The only thing I don't know about Windows is how it handles the permissions of the file. But all good. That's great. If you're on a Mac, your command prompt is terminal. Yep, everyone already told you. Perfect. Just look for terminal, and terminal will bring you up something like this. So the hardest part of this, the thing that I always underestimate first is I was figuring out whether tonight I should teach you Linux first or EC2 first. And I thought it would be better to do EC2 first so that we could actually learn the Linux commands that we're going to learn tonight in the EC2 instance. But what it makes is, it makes this part right here tough. So I kind of feel like we should go back and just do the IM role, but this is important. This is very important. So the first thing you have to do is go in your command line. Dang, this is going to be hard for you all. For anyone who doesn't know Linux at all. And it's going to be hard because you have to know first where that file was downloaded to. So this command line, again, it's the same thing as the rest of my computer. So that file I downloaded, this is actually in, so if I click like the little thing here and show in folder, this is in my downloads directory. It's in my downloads directory. So I'm going to go to my downloads directory in my terminal. So I'm going to use a command called cd. And this is going to change my directory. So I'm going to move from where I am into my documents. So if you're on Linux or Mac, you're probably, when you first open it, you're probably at a space where you could go into your downloads. Sorry, not documents, but downloads. You're probably in a space where you can go straight there. So type in cd downloads if it downloaded to your downloads. And I can see that the thing that I downloaded was this first instance.pem. I spelled it wrong, but first instance.pem. Yes, that PEM file is what we're trying to get to. So find where that is. So actually, I think if you're on a Mac or Windows, actually, I think what you can do is, I think you can right click or hold shift. So on Linux, I think you can right click and go to open in terminal. So it'll open me in the right place. So I'm right here in my downloads. On a Mac, I think you can hold shift and click and it'll do the same thing, I think. But the key here, I see it in my folder with the PEM file. Perfect. First thing I want you to do, if you change into the directory with the PEM file, we're going to learn about this in Linux in a second. The first thing I want you to do is type in this command, chmod. All right, 0400 space, and then type in the name of your PIM file. I know it's a little weird. I know it's odd, but this file is SSH. The main use of it is security. What this command does is it changes the permissions of this file to something a little more secure. If we try to log in with this right now, it would actually give us an error letting us know that this key was a bad key because the permissions are too open actually. So chmod chmod 0400 or just 0400 and then the name of your PIM file. And just to show you that something did happen, look at this line up top. Look at all this stuff over here. You don't need to know what it is. You don't need to know what it is at all, but just know that there's stuff here. And now after I did the command, look at this. Now there's just a bunch of dashes. So I actually removed a bunch of permissions from this file. So don't sweat it. You don't even know what that is, but I'm just making sure that the key has the right permissions for what I need to do. What's up, BJ, RNETS? Welcome to the channel. What's up, Chavez? What's up, It Takes, I didn't say that right at all, but yeah, the Dev with an X in your name, welcome. What's up, Jacomus P? I'm Asylum. Yeah, I think I said hello to everybody else. It's Flu, Zucker 1990, you Zuckerberg, you Marky Mark. What's up, Sean Lull? Devilfish 608. What's up, everybody? Good to have you. We're rushing through. Yes, read only for everyone is what we want. All right, so now what you want to do is the SSH command. It should be installed on your machine by default. SSH is the command that we want to use. So you type in SSH, and basically, appreciate that Purple Shadow. Thank you for the bits. How do you make your Linux colorful? I have a video on that. I'll point you to it later. What you need to do now is we need to basically tell our computer and say, hey, I want to create a secure shell into another computer. So we know the address to get to our server, and we can get that from that details page. I'll show you exactly where it is, but we need to say hey, SSH, I have a key. I have a key. You have a lock. I have a key. I'm gonna give you the key. I need to know where to go. I'm gonna give you the key. You're gonna take this key, see if it fits in the lock, see if it unlocks the lock. If it does, you're gonna let me in that server. And if not, no one can get in. So that's why this key value pair thing is so good. That's what the SSH key pair is. It's a key and a lock, and one sits on the server, one you keep, and you use that to log in. So we're gonna use that. So do SSH-I. This I says I'm going to specify an identity file. This identity file tells the server who I am. So you do a -I and then the name of the file that you downloaded. So slow there. Yes, you can telnet. Telnet. I mean, obviously locally. I think telnet. Well, telnet operates over port. If the port's open, you can telnet. Yes. But because of our you will not be able to telnet to anything but SSH because we only have SSH open in the firewall. But yeah, so SSH-I and the name of the file that you downloaded, or after you already changed the permissions above. So SSH-I, the name of the file. Now we're using Ubuntu. Don't worry about this right now, but as long as you chose Ubuntu, type in Ubuntu now. This is the user. I know it's weird. Each of the operating systems has a different user. Some of them are EC2 user, but Ubuntu is what we're going to be using. The Ubuntu and then an @ symbol. And then once you do that, go back to your console and go back into the EC2 section. So services, EC2, and click on running instances. And find the instance that you spun up. Go ahead and select that. I know it's a lot. Just select it. We can use, we're gonna use one of these two. You can use either the public DNS address that's right here, or the public IP address. All an IP address is just like the address to your house. It tells the internet network, it tells it like where on a network, this server lives and how to access it. So you can grab either one, doesn't really matter. I'm gonna grab the shorter one. I'm just gonna grab the IP address. Just grab the IP address. Again, don't Chris Antoine, it's okay that you're lost. Everyone who's following along, don't necessarily, like, yeah, I do want you to be able to log in, but the concept of SSHing into a server, I want you to understand this process rather than knowing, like, memorizing how to do it. I think you're gonna miss like a little bit of the what we're doing, of the why we're doing it, rather than what we're doing. If you like, I understand getting lost while you're trying to go through it, but all right, so look at this. I know this looks very confusing, but let's look at it real quick. Let's look at the command. All we're saying is basically SSH using this file into this server, this address, as this user. So you're going to see this paradigm a lot. You're going to see the paradigm of like a username at an IP address a number of times. If you're on a Mac, you probably see that in your prompt right now. You probably see your username at like something mac.local domain or something. You probably see that because it's an identifier for your user. So I'm gonna hit enter here, and it's gonna ask me some things. It's gonna say, hey, it's gonna give me some fingerprint information. Don't worry about that. Just type in yes. And now I'm actually into my Linux server. How can I confirm that I'm into my Linux server? One, I got a bunch of nice output here. It's like a welcome message, gives me some information, but also your prompt will show you like, was that. Now, if I scroll down, I'm actually Ubuntu at this IP address. The IP address is different. Don't sweat that. We'll talk about why it's different in a second. But I'm in the server. Now, that's how you get logged in. Can you display all possible usernames? The only username you can log in with is Ubuntu. The only one that you can log in with up front is Ubuntu. There, you can manually do some things to change what other users you are, but the username if you use Ubuntu as your AMI, it's Ubuntu. For just about everything else, it's EC2-user. Super weird, yeah. So we're logged in. Great. We're logged into our server now, and now you're essentially just in a Linux computer. So this looks exactly what my terminal already looked like. So it doesn't feel any different, but now we're actually in another computer that we can control and do things in. But again, you don't know any Linux stuff, so we need to learn some of that Linux stuff, which we're about to go through in a second. Let me see real quick what we need to do to so let's try something real quick. I'm gonna try this on the fly. I'm gonna see if it helps. So go back if you're someone who couldn't do that part. If you couldn't do that part and you I know the key thing is confusing, try to go back here. Try clicking this. Go down to instance settings. Click attach or replace IAM role. All right, going slow. Go ahead and click on that. It says no IAM role. We probably have no IAM roles. Go to create a new IAM role. Something's gonna pop up. And so it's gonna take us into the IAM service. All right. So what we're gonna do is, let's see if in here, look for a session. I wonder if this role's already set up. Service for auto scaling, AWS CLI. We can Google this. Actually, let's Google it real quick. AWS IAM role for session manager. Additional. I was hoping there would be one already, because I don't want this to take up too much time, but it looks like it will. Add such a manager permission to an existing instance. That's the same thing. Yeah, we can embed, replace the default with this. That's a lot of work. That's not a lot of work, but I think it's going to be, after something that was already pretty confusing, I think this will be pretty confusing. If I wasn't able to do this, do I need to do this? No. We're actually not going to do this at all. We just don't have time. And I'm sorry about that. What I will do is I will provide you a video on Session Manager for anyone who's unable to follow along in this part. But again, this is part of the process. After this, if you were unable to get any of this, play with it. There's videos to follow that I posted with this to be able to use the SSH key to log in. So it also is probably going to be easier for you to log in after we learn some of these Linux commands. Okay. So this might help as well. This might contextualize some of these things for you as well. So let's learn a little bit of these Linux commands, and then I'll actually stay on, let's get through this, and then I'll actually stay on later to help move through some of this stuff. Like I said, I knew when I was going through it, I was like, man, today is going to be a lot. I didn't realize it was going to be this much. The other days are not this much. But let's run through the Linux stuff real quick, real fast. So Linux is dope. Linux basically runs the entire world. Everyone uses Android. You're using a version of Linux. We'll talk about what Linux actually is. It's pretty important. Windows actually ships with Linux, a whole Linux kernel installed, but it's free and open source software. It's a free and open source operating system. Free and open source just means that the source code of it, the code that runs it, is available openly, and that people can look at it and contribute to it. Everyone can kind of contribute to the Linux kernel. So it's a Unix-like operating system. We're not gonna talk about what that means, but Unix is just like Mac OS is also Unix-like. That's why you have your terminal like Linux does, because it's a Unix-like operating system. It was created by a guy named Linus Torvalds. He also made the technology which is called Git. He's probably made the two biggest contributions to the tech industry. To be honest, I can't think of two bigger introductions to the tech industry. And it's really just a kernel. So a kernel is just an engine. This is none of this. This is not important for understanding the cloud, but this is going to be very, understanding some of these concepts, or at least learning how to use Linux, is going to be supremely helpful in your cloud career and understanding how to navigate these things. So that's why we're going through it. It's very, very important. Distributions. So I said over here, Linux is just a kernel. A kernel is just like an engine. So really Linux is just kind of an engine that helps software talk to your hardware. But Linux has a bunch of things called distributions. So you might have we saw Amazon Linux, we saw Red Hat, we saw Ubuntu, we saw OpenSUSE or SUSE Linux. A distribution is all it is just some software that's packaged on top of the Linux kernel. So think about it like an AMI a little bit. It's just a certain set of tools and applications that's packaged along with the Linux kernel. So all of these are different. They all offer different things. They're good at some things, bad at others, but it's because of the tool choices they decided to include. So yeah, that's the difference between them. We don't care about this. This is not important right now. Now this is what's important. How do you use Linux? How do you issue commands to a Linux machine? How do you control a Linux machine? Very, very important. So we're gonna dive into some CLI navigation. If you're on your Mac, you can do these just fine. Again, if you're on PC, Linux, obviously you can then find there. Does anyone know of a place for anyone who's in Windows? The problem is Windows does have command prompt. If you do not have the Windows subsystem for Linux installed, your commands are different. The Windows runs off of a Windows kernel and not the Linux kernel. And so is there a place you can practice Linux commands? I don't know. I'm sure there is. If you were able to log into your VM, if you were able to log into just now when we did that stuff, if you were able to log in, you can now practice your Linux commands from here. If you're on a Mac, you can do it from your terminal. But if you were unable to do that, if you're unable to get logged in and you're on a Windows machine, maybe labx.io, I don't know. I'm trying to find a free one. If anyone knows one, I don't know if there is. Best online Linux terminals and bash editors. My dog just scared me. I didn't hear her run upstairs. She just licked the back of my arm. That was weird. I feel a little bit violated, to be honest. JS Linux terminal. Let's try this out. I'm gonna share this if it works. This looks like it's working. I'm gonna share this. It did. It worked. So here, I'll share this right here. Check that out. Head over to this. Yes, yes, you can absolutely install VirtualBox and run Linux there. Right now, if you do not have Linux installed yet, we're gonna learn how to do Linux commands. You can, if you're on a Mac, I think you said you're on a Mac, MGene, so you can just use your terminal for what we're about to do right now. It will teach you how to do the navigation. It's the same thing. Well, it's a similar thing. So just head over to here. If you don't have access to those things, go ahead and click here and open up this little thing here. And it looks like you can do everything that we're about to do right here. This is a terminal. This is the same thing that I have right here. I just made mine look super pretty. I'll show you how to do that another time. All right, we're gonna run through this. Now, that command line, we talked about it before, is no different than the rest of your computer. It's the same thing. It's just a different interface for interacting with it. One of the first things that you need to learn how to do is to understand your location. Tonight we're going to learn how to know where we are on the computer and figure out how to move around and traverse the file system. Oh yeah, if you're using Git Bash, that comes with this stuff too. You can do this in Git Bash as well for anyone on Windows. What's up, IMH4361? Welcome to the channel. But let's find out where we are. So there are two commands here. PWD, which stands for present working directory. That tells me the current location that I currently am on the computer. And LS command allows me to list directory. Let's see that real time and let's understand. And actually, I'm actually going to log out of my server. You should do it on your server. Actually, I'll do it on both. Actually, let's get back in. Okay, so on my computer, right now, if I do a PWD, that stands for present working directory, and I hit enter, and it says I'm at /home/mastermind. We're gonna talk about file pathing in a second, but this is my location on the computer. I can compare this to my files directory. This is my home directory. And so when I do an LS, I do an LS here to list my files. So PWD tells you where you are. LS will list out all the things that are there, but you can see here I have desktop, documents, downloads. I got a hello world.py, a Firefox wallpaper. So these are files and directories. But take a look. I got pictures and public, but look here. Look what's in here. I got the same stuff actually. I have desktop and documents and downloads and hello world.py and snap and public. Same thing. It's the exact same thing. I'm in the same location here as this right here. And so usually, you understand that if you want to get something out of your documents, you know that I click on my documents and I can go ahead and I can modify my documents. But from the command line, you have to tell it the way when you click on this, you have to we have to emulate the same thing. We have to say, hey, navigate from where you currently are into the documents directory. So how do we do that? We are going to let's learn how to move first. We're going to CD into that directory. So CD stands for change directory. So I know we're going fast. So if I want to CD into the directory, I say CD. I want to go into my documents, CD, change directory, into documents. And I type in documents, and now I'm in my documents folder. So I do an LS again. Actually, let's rerun through our commands. PWD was the first one I learned. Before, we were in home mastermind. Now, when we change directory into documents, now we're in home mastermind documents. So we're in a new folder. Just like if we clicked into it, and if I do an LS, I can see all these things that are here: hello.go, mastermind.txt, decoded, and again over here, these same things are in here when I click in here. So those are three quick commands. Those are very quick commands that help you, one, know where you are. So PWD says, hey, this lets me know where I am. I know you don't know what that means where I am, but like, just know that there's a way to find out your location, and that your location is very important on the Linux machine. A way to list the files and directories that are currently where you are is ls, and to change a directory, to move into a new directory, is cd. So those are your first 3 quick commands. Now let's learn some Linux concepts before we dive into some more commands, and we're gonna practice those. There's plenty of opportunities for you to practice those. Let's go back. File paths. This is the one of the most important concepts of Linux. So Linux is just it's not anything crazy. The operating system of Linux isn't anything crazy. It is simply it's only files, directories, and executables. I use LL. I'll talk about what that is in a second. But files, directories, and executable binaries, libraries and binaries, but binaries is all Linux is. It's really just a bunch of files. So the everything pertains to the file structure, the file tree, and so pathing is pretty important. And all file paths is the location to a certain file on a computer. So absolute paths, we have 2 different ways to path things. It's absolute and there's relative. Absolute is the complete list of directions from the root of the hard drive, the root of the file system, the root of the hard drive, to get to the file you want. So all the steps you need to take. If I need to move into this directory and then move into this directory and then move into this directory, but it's the full list of directions from the very beginning of the computer where the file system begins. And so that always begins with slash. So slashes are very important in Linux. And so every Linux file system starts with slash. So slash is the very start. And then the path starting with slash to where your file is the absolute path. And they will always begin with a slash, always. So this is an example, /home, abrooks, apps, file.txt. So let's go back over here. When I do pwd, this is an absolute path. I said always starts with a slash. If you see a slash at the very beginning, it is an absolute path. So this is the full location to my documents folder from the beginning of my computer, which starts at slash, then go into the home directory, go into mastermind directory, go into documents. That's how I get to where I am now. So that is what it is. If you're in here, go ahead and type pwd in your server. If you're in, it will tell you home Ubuntu. That is your home directory. And yeah, that's a full absolute file path. When you see that slash, it's absolute. It is all of the directions to get to where you are. And again, it starts with slash. Relative would be the list of directions to a file from the place that you currently are. And it does not start with slash. So it can't start with slash because slash is the beginning of the file system. So it's a list of directions to a file based on where you are now. So let's put that into context. This is the harder one to understand. So this file right here, apps.txt. So I'm going to run some commands. Don't sweat it. Apps.txt, inside of it, it has some information in there. It has Docker and it has just some text inside of it. Nothing else in there. This is the text that's inside of there. If I wanted to, right now, the first thing I just did is I referenced this file, and I actually referenced it with a relative file path. I was able to say /apps.txt because I'm in this directory, and the next, like, I can get to it from here. But I could have also done cat, and I could have given it a full file path to reference this file. So I referenced the file the first time by name, but if I can also reference it by starting from slash, I'm at home, mastermind, documents, apps.txt, and it will give me the same output because this and this is referencing the same thing because of where I am. But let's say I go backwards one. So we learned the CD command to move backwards one. So CD, I can CD forward into new directories. I can also go backwards one. And the way that you go backwards one, if I want to go to documents, back to mastermind, I do CD ... And that will take me back one. How can I confirm that I went back one? I do pwd and now I'm back in the mastermind directory. If I try to look at that apps.txt file, it won't work. It says no such file directory. Why? Because relative to where I am, I'm trying to reference that file. It doesn't exist here. If I do an ls, that file is nowhere to be found. The path to that file from where I am right now, so I can do the absolute file path again. So this is the absolute path. This is the full path, the full set of directions to the location of this file from the beginning of the computer. I can run that from anywhere. Anywhere I am on the computer, I can use an absolute path and to find a file. But that file compared to where I am now is actually at documents with no slash apps.txt, because I'm in the mastermind directory. So to get to it, I need to go to documents, then apps.txt. So this is relative to where I am now, and it will work because it's relative. Very confusing. It took me a long time to understand this. What I really want you to get out of this is that file paths in Linux are important. I want you to know that there are two different ways to reference a file. And I want you to really understand absolute file path. And I think it'll take you a little bit to understand relative file pathing. But absolute is the full list of directions to the location of a file from the root of a directory, and that always starts with slash. Slash is the root of the directory. All right, that was a lot of information, a ton of information, and there's still more. So we talked about how to go backwards one, so cd dot dot. We're gonna save these. We're gonna save these for next time. Yes, we're gonna save these for next time because we're also gonna talk about file permissions next time. So we're gonna save all these commands for next time. What I want you to get out of Linux for this time is that you can move, that there is a directory structure, and you can navigate it by orienting yourself, knowing where you are with the pwd command. So never be like cement that one into your head. Say, hey, I know that I'm at home mastermind, and if I want to see places I can move to, I can do an ls to see places I can move to. You probably see me type ll a lot. This is that, if you take a look, I know the output is way different, but it's the same stuff. Documents, desktop documents, downloads, same thing, different format with additional information. You can try to use ll. It might not be available to you because it's something called an alias. So cool, if you log into your Ubuntu server, you have ll, feel free to use it. It's not something that's already always available. If you want to do this and you don't have something available, you can do something like this, which is ls space minus s, minus l. Will give you that output. I don't know why I put s there. But practice just from the command line, just see what you can do. Do an ls, see what you have available to you. So if you're on your server, an ls might not show anything. That's very interesting. So if you are on the Ubuntu server, if it drops, wherever it drops you, if you type in ls, you won't see anything. Why won't you see anything? There are actually no visible files and folders there. When I did this ll command, I was able to see some stuff. So if you do ls dash a, this will show you these. So a says everything. It shows hidden files. These files are all actually hidden files. In Linux, to make a file hidden, you just give it a dot in the front. So anything with a dot is actually hidden. These are hidden files and folders here. So yeah, so all you need tonight is to know the things about Linux that you need to know is, how do you find out where you are? You will be quizzed on this. How do you find out where you are on a Linux machine? PWD is how you find out where you are on a Linux machine. How do you see what's available to you? How do you see what's in the directory that you're currently in? And that is ls, to list out what is currently in that directory. And how do you move to other directories? And that is the cd command, and maybe how you go backwards, which is cd dot dot. So I can actually go backwards in the Linux server and type in ls, and then I can see that Ubuntu is available to me. So I can cd into Ubuntu and do an ls, and there's nothing in here. But a couple of simple navigation commands. There's way more Linux commands. This should be intimidating to you. This is not necessarily, there's not going to be any Linux specific questions on the exam, but for you to understand a lot of the concepts of EC2, we're going to need to go through and do some stuff on the server. So it's very important that you do this. Anyone who's trying to go past this, Linux is something that you need to know. It really is. You need to, it's something you need to start picking up, not to be an expert at, but you need to be able to at least navigate the command line in a comfortable way. It helps a lot. This is Ubuntu. I usually use Pop! OS, but when 20.04 came out, Pop! OS hadn't come out yet, so I just set this up. But I do use Pop! OS usually, which is Ubuntu based. But yeah. But again, being far behind is perfect. Like you should be if this is your first time seeing this, you should be struggling right now. You should be like, yo, this is wild. I have no idea what's going on. It's okay. Watch the resources that I put in here. Start to put some context to these things. You do not need to be an expert at these things. You don't. We need to get out of the mindset that like, oh no, it's gonna be so hard for me to do the next class because I don't know the things from this class. I can guarantee you, next class will be less information, but we'll be more hands-on in Linux, so it might be equally as confusing. But as soon as we move to the next service in AWS, it requires no Linux at all, and everything we're gonna be doing is through the console or through the CLI a little bit, which has a little bit of Linux, but it'll be a lot, like it's less constant. So don't get too hung up if this is something that's tough for you. Linux itself is a journey. I might do an entire Linux course, 8-week Linux course, entire 16-week Linux course. So I'm not expecting you to know Linux in one night. I'm introducing you to it. I'm throwing you into the pool, the deep end of the pool. But we're also standing at the edge, making sure you don't drown, but you are going to be uncomfortable. One of the first things we said is hopefully you'll get comfortable being uncomfortable. I know that I am aware that I've made you uncomfortable. But in Horizons, the classwork, you have some things to understand SSH key based authentication. It's a pretty good video. It also will teach you how to log in via SSH for people on Linux. For Windows users, if you need to, PuTTY versus SSH. If you have Windows 10 and you can type in the SSH command in the command prompt, you can also just watch this video, I believe. There's some official documentation in here. There's some Linux command cheat sheets in here for you to help you out a little bit. And here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna add one more really quick. I'm gonna add, if you want to try Linux in VirtualBox, if you want to start to understand Linux a little deeper than we're going into today, you want over the weekend, you want to dive into Linux some, we're going to go ahead and paste in the Linux videos that we did in the DevOps bootcamp. We did like 4 weeks of Linux, I think, or 4 courses of Linux there. So don't sweat it. Give it some go. Give it some of that energy. I'll share this. And YouTube, Linux, intro to Linux. Not a requirement, but I think it's super valuable for people who want to learn how to install it in VirtualBox, who want to understand the basics of the commands, and want some resources to look over. That's one. And can I just add another thing in here? Add YouTube link to let's see. All right, there we go. Okay. Yes, being uncomfortable means you're growing. And again, I realized how much this was on twitter.com/mastermindIO. You get well, that's the pinned one. The last thing I said was that this was going to be pretty tough and I wanted you to be mentally ready. I know, and we're almost, like, tonight finishes up the first 20%. They say that the first 20% is the hardest, and I actually do agree. Surprisingly, I think all the content from here on out, like EC2 is going to be probably the most uncomfortable you're going to be throughout the whole process. Like, this is going to set the tone for the rest. I really do think every service after this, every concept you learn after kind of getting through the hands-on with EC2, I think is going to be pretty simple in comparison. So, you know, you've been hitting the head early with some pretty tough concepts. But it's okay. There's a lot of people encouraging in the chat. I really thank you. Keep doing that. But yeah, can you over which IAM role is attached to the instance for systems to manage the work? Yes, let's see if we can figure that out. I don't know by default, but we can see if we can figure it out. We looked it up a little bit. So let's use our Googling skills and see. What's up, IMH? So first, I want to let people go. We're done with all of the concepts for tonight. We're going to move this piece of the Linux to next time because we'll have a little bit more time. But that's it. So next time we're going to be diving straight back into our EC2 instance. So if you want, especially because if you're not going to work on your EC2 instance over the next few days, I would stop it or turn it off or terminate it. Because to save yourself some of those hours. But Monday we will be logging into it immediately, and we will be building out some things there immediately, learning a little bit more about Linux. We're actually going to be installing things on it. We're going to be setting up a web server. We're going to learn how to manage our security groups to allow some things through, and we're going to start to understand some of those things. How to terminate AWS from terminal. Do you mean terminate the instance from the terminal? Go ahead and so if you're not super familiar with Linux, you're probably not going to be able to use the help stuff to find your answer, but Google it. Say terminate EC2 instance CLI. It already popped up for me, and I just clicked on the first one. I didn't even look and to see if it was the right one, and it's not even letting me scroll. This doesn't look right to me. It's probably like a delete instance, terminate instances. So you're probably gonna have to do a number of things to get the right stuff. So it looks like you have to terminate instances, and then you have to pass it some instance IDs, or maybe I wonder if there's just a terminate instance and not instances. You can also, if you want to know what commands you have available to you, again, you can do AWS EC2, which is a service, and you can type in help if you want. And again, it's hard to read, but you can use your arrow keys to scroll down and maybe see what you have available to you. There's a number of ways to get your answers. They have documentation as well that's better than this. I don't actually recommend people use man pages when they're first learning. And I could search for it. Yep, terminate instances, and then I can stop instances, or I can terminate instances, and I probably have to pass it the instance ID. That instance ID is available in the page there. You could also grab it from you can also grab the instance ID by doing this. AWS EC2 describe dash instances, and it'll tell you the one it'll give you a bunch of JSON, and the instance ID, remember I called it well, that's the key name, but the instance ID is right here, so you can probably take that and build your command. Again, it's a lot. It's a lot. There's a number of Linux commands that need to be Linux concepts that need to be understood before being able to confidently put together a command like that. So yeah, let's do this systems manager part first. So What Systems Manager is, again, it's a service in AWS that allows you to perform certain management of your systems. Systems Manager is really nice. Because of Systems Manager, we actually don't even allow anyone to log, like, we actually have no access to log into our servers, because if we do need to do something by hand, we do everything by code. And if we do need to do something by hand, we can use Systems Manager to do so. So we actually don't have any SSH keys, so nobody can log in actually. So if we need to make a change, we actually tear the instance down and spin up a new one. But let's go ahead and get that set up. So the problem is when we went to Systems Manager, it said that when we tried to scroll down over here, we tried to go to Session Manager, it said, hey, start session. It said, hey, you don't have any instances. All right, everybody. Our good night, Simon, Matt. What's up? Peace out, everybody who's leaving. Again, head out if you need to head out. Thanks for hanging out for so long. I know it's a lot. Well, most of them won't be like this. There'll be a few. There'll probably be one or two more sessions that are at least go pretty long, but not as intense as this one. But yeah, thanks for tuning in for the time. You know, go over the materials for the weekend. Enjoy your weekend. See you tomorrow if you're doing Decoded. See you on Saturday if you're doing pipelines. But yeah, definitely have a good night. So it says here there are no instances which are associated to the required IAM role, and this is the stuff that you should be taking in. Like, these are the concepts that you should be focusing on. You may not really truly understand the IAM role yet, but you learned about it. You learned about an IAM role. You should be like, okay, we learned about that the other day. Let me go look at the notes, and maybe you can go pull up IAM roles and see that, all right, this will help give me permission. So it sounds like I don't have the right permissions to be able to do this. So learn how to create and attach required IAM role to your instance. We'll click on it, and it gives you a bit of a walkthrough, which may be a little bit complicated. So it says to attach an IAM role to an instance that has no role, and the instance can be stopped or in a running state. So I can do it. You can attach a role to either a stopped or a running instance. Ours is running, so we should be fine. To attach the IAM role to the instance, it's teaching us how to attach a role. I'm just gonna tell you right now, this is not what we need to do. Well, we need to attach a role, but right now we need the role that we care about. So let's go ahead and let's create our own. Let's create our own role. And you can, if you're unsure, you can always Google it. So we could always Google like AWS Session Manager role, and maybe there's an example. Quick start default IAM policies for Session Manager. That sounds like what we want. Quick start end user policies. All right, Session Manager and CLI EC2 instance. All right, so it sounds like this is what we want to grab. I'll send this link. It gives us some options here. Yes, you can stop your instance from the GUI. You just right click it and click stop. All right, so this is going to allow us to do this. IAM end user policies for Session Manager. You know what? Administrator policy. We'll do administrator policy. User symbol policy. What is this for? So remember how we tried to read these before. It says, hey, the thing I'm going to allow you to take these actions. So this one is Systems Manager, start session. So I can start a session on this resource on any star instance. So any EC2 instance, it looks like I can start an instance on. So that's nice. And then we have another policy down here that says, hey, you're allowed to perform any of these actions on these resources. The same thing as we go below. So I'm going to copy these. But actually we want the one from the EC2 instance. Actually, I think we're fine for there. So click on this one. I'm pretty sure. I think this is what we need. We need policies for like I'm the administrator user. I should be able to do something, but I think this is the one we need. Get connection status, describe instance information. Let's take this one because it's listed under the EC2 option. Session manager, CLI, and EC2. Oh, so it's all of them. So just sessions manager. Let's take this last one. Actually, let's take this third one. I think it'll give us the most bang for our buck. I don't know what that little one is in there, but we'll copy this. We will go into IAM. We'll go into the IAM service. We will go to roles, and we can create a role, or you can add it to an existing role. We're going to go ahead and we can create a role. And again, there might actually be one in here, but let's go ahead and AWS service, permissions, create policy. Sorry, I went kind of fast there. I went back here. I just clicked one of them, common use case, said choose a use case. I just clicked one because it's gonna give you a set of options. I click next permissions. And again, maybe I'll search for it here. Maybe there's already one, but there's not. So there's not one here that I can already use. So I'm gonna click create policy. And I'm gonna choose JSON because I have all the JSON that I need. And I'm just gonna paste it in. Go ahead and paste that in there. Looks good. I'm gonna click review policy, give it a name. So I'm gonna call this stream dash session dash manager. You can call it whatever you want. You can give it a description if you want. It's going to tell you here what it has access to. It's going to say, hey, EC2 systems manager list read and write, EC2 list. So I'm going to create a policy. All right, sessions manager has been created. But that's not a role though. That created the policy, I think. All right, so now that we have a policy, I'm going to attach it to, I'm gonna attach that policy to a role. So you can have one of these, but I'm gonna create a new role. Oh, that might be a role actually. I'm gonna create a role. Isn't that what it just did? Did I do this wrong? I never create roles from the command line. I mean, from here. I always create them via CloudFormation or Terraform. So this is a little new to me. Actually cancel, create role. I thought that's what we just did. The role has some policies in it, permissions, with permissions. So I just want to see something. Add tags. Oh, I probably need to give it a name. Did I not do that? I gave it a role name. Oh, this is different. Okay. So I just gotta add up. I created a policy. Never mind. I know what I did. Right here. I created a policy. It took me to a new screen. Okay, got it. So that I created that policy, but it did take me to a new screen when I was creating a role. So I need to go back in. That policy is now available to me. Session manager is now available to me. So now I do have a policy. Add tags. I can give it a tag if I want. I'm not going to. And I'm gonna give it the same name. I'm gonna call it stream dash session dash manager. And I'm just gonna click create role. All right, so now we have a role here called stream session manager. And if you click on it, the policies that it has is the stream session policy, the stream session manager policy. And if you look at the JSON for this, it has the JSON that we pasted in. So a lot. I didn't realize it took me to a new screen. Like I said, I'm used to doing this. I'm used to doing these things programmatically. So sometimes I'll be lost when we're doing things in the console. So let's go back to EC2 really quick. And now that we're back at EC2, remember it said that you can attach, and this is actually an exam question. It said that we can attach a role to an instance that is in a running state or a stop state. So as long as it's not terminated, as long as it's not in the terminated state or rebooting, we can or in the stopping or starting state, we can attach a role. So you right click it, instance settings, attach or replace IAM role. So it has no role attached to it right now. So it has no permissions by default. You go down in here, you filter by attributes. So give it the name, search for the name you put in there. Stream session manager. Apply. It succeeded. All right. And so you can confirm that this worked or that it attached properly by going to all the information down below. And I think you can see what role IAM roles. This IAM role section over here on the left. Stream session manager is what's there. Now let's head back over. Let's head back over to systems manager. So if you went to systems manager earlier, it should be over here on the left. Back to systems manager. Scroll on down. Back to session manager. From session manager, we're gonna go start session. And we still don't see it. Okay. So that was not, I want to take a few minutes to show the instance here after attaching IAM. So, okay, let's give it a few. Let's talk about some other stuff. Let's see if that works for us. I've been ignoring the chat, but let's see if that works. Let's see if that works for us. Also, when we get to the end of this, you will know, like I said, you will know much more than just what's needed for the certified cloud practitioner cert. Again, this course, although this course does center around that exam, this course is really designed to feed into the mid-level course, and the mid-level course takes it that you kind of understand a lot of these things. So just to add some context also around if like you were purely going for the cloud the certified cloud practitioner cert and you're like, oh, this is a lot of stuff. It is, it's a lot of information, but it'll help. It will help. This lady had a little sketch on that video. She assigned her users white skin as the root and dark skin as the IAM user. Where's that at? Watch this before posting in Google Clip. Yeah, share all the resources you got. Oh yeah. You all should watch the IAM stuff. I didn't see that part. I'm gonna go look. White skin and dark skin. Did she really do that? That's interesting. That's a bold move. Bold move, Cotton. Bold move. I'll check that out though. It sucks that I'm not sure she did that. This is the one thing I hate about the different AWS services that let you know that it's going to take a few minutes to show after you attach a role is you never know how long to wait to figure out if you did something wrong or if you just need to wait longer. It really kind of sucks. I'm gonna find the minute mark. Please find that minute mark, please. I really want to see it. Oh, she said low key. Someone said low key trying to start a gang war in there. And I'm looking at the comments of it now. It's pretty funny. That's really funny, actually. Come on. I need you to pop up to know that if I did this right. It seems right. I was looking at so let's look back at the while we're doing this, let's look back at the IAM role real quick. And let's look at what it's actually saying, and let's break down. This is a good opportunity to just look at the role and really break down what it's saying it's doing. So session I probably should have looked at it harder, to be honest, but YOLO, I guess. Stream session manager, JSON. Okay, so this is allowing whatever has this role to it's allowed to issue a SSM start session command or a send command, and all the resources that are allowed to do it, it's allowed to do on these resources. Okay, so condition string like tag key tag value. Maybe it's a condition that I was not string like SSM resource tag key. This might be saying, hey, as long you need a tag. Did you put your instance ID in? Oh yeah, I'm tripping. I'm definitely, well, yeah, I put my instance ID in. I'm just gonna wildcard it. But see, I was wondering if this was a paradigm for, I wonder if this is a paradigm for SSM. Yeah, I mean, I should just read what we looked up, but like, you know, like I said, YOLO, you just YOLO it, and you use your session manager iron roll. You just you know, you shouldn't YOLO it, but it's more fun doing that way. That's not. Oh yeah, it's replace instance ID. Yep, with your actual instance ID. It's fine. I could start up, but I'll do instance ID. So the last thing we need to do, you know, if you just pay attention for 2 seconds, you can see these things. And my instance ID is right here. And yeah, why didn't I paste? I have to edit. I have to edit policy. Is it the whole thing there? No, that feels wrong. See, this seems like these dots seem slash instance ID, but it's they already slash started for me though. That's why I'm confused. That's what I thought. Like it's already slash star. And what about this? Did I copy this? What is this? What are these? And this is the one I copied, I'm pretty sure. SMO. Is that the, which one did I copy? I thought I copied this one on the right. Account ID, I would need to change the account ID, but I think it picked that up. I think this is actually set up to fill all this stuff in. Isn't this the one I copied? Copy. Let's just make sure. Oh, okay. This is not the one that I copied. That's interesting. Very interesting. Okay. Well, then that makes a little more sense. That makes me feel a little bit better. So let's change this. Account ID. And to change that as well. My account ID, you can find your account ID. You can click up here and go to like my account. And you can take, yeah, you guys already saw my publicly available address. Not worried about that. Let's go here. Sucks, I probably got changed in more than one place. AWS username, whack. I'll give it to mastermind. I'm not logging in as mastermind, am I? Actually, will that work? I think this will work as a, I think that'll actually work. I'll send a key name for information. Policy contains the following way. The following resource is invalid key name. I search this. Or is it? Oh, why? What in the world? Oh, do I need the actual key for the a KMS key? Hold on, what did I copy? We need KMS keys for this? Oh, session manager run shell as far as session manager. Oh, this is way more intense than I thought. I actually didn't realize we did all this. Generate permissions data. Oh, okay. If you won't use AWS KMS key encryption for your data, remove the following content. Okay, cool. We don't need it. Maybe so. We probably don't use this. So go ahead and remove this section, starting with the curly brace, not the bottom bracket. Starting with the curly brace on line 46 up to 40, and remove the thing there. So that KMS key was an encryption key that it was going to try to use. And let's save those changes. That seems a little bit better. But yeah, this is why what we're doing right now is the reason why I said IAM was such a beast. It can be pretty intense. What? The policies? No. Oh yeah, this is why it can be such a beast. See how intricate it can kind of be to kind of talk about, make every single thing work, because you have to explicitly give permissions for most things, because by default there's no permissions kind of granted. Let's see if that helped at all. Session manager, and we'll give that a few. We'll give it a few and see if it pops up. If not, we can figure out how to do it. But like I said, I'm usually doing this through it's kind of weird looking at it this way. You can also use this in IAM. There's a policy like simulator that works pretty well. It takes a while to understand how to use it properly. I mean if you're trying to go again far in this, I would consider trying it out. But there's like a policy simulator, simulate policy over here, and it starts to tell, you can make changes, and it starts to tell you, you select a service, and you can kind of see if you are allowed to do certain things, if you have access to certain things. It's a big tool. It is a big tool. There's definitely a learning curve to it, but it's something you could use to when you're changing, lots of IAM policies. It is absolutely something you can dive into. But yeah, a lot of tools for you to do that. Let's see if we're good over here yet. And let's actually look at this quick start administrative policy for this one's for the end user and for the admin. What's the only difference? Is the only difference the AWS username, region, and account ID? Oh, I didn't set a region. That might hurt too. Place region, account ID with region and account ID. That'll do it too. So let's do that. Edit policy. JSON. US East 1 is our region. Let's review it. Save changes. Okay, and now let's see. And I'll paste this with things that change again. So if anyone wants it, if it works. Session manager. Come on, get over here. I mean, it takes a couple minutes. I wonder if I need to, I shouldn't, because it's the same thing. Administrator, region, account ID. So US East 1 is what I want. I got the account ID in there properly. Resource tag, I don't know what that is. Possibly you're making it for you. Yeah. So I could. So yes. Yes, it's for users, so I should be able to log in as my mastermind user and see it. But I'm assuming as the administrator, though, I should still be able to see the instance. It may not spin up the SSM session for me, but I'm pretty sure it should still do that. So are you saying I grab the user one first? Account ID, this one up here. I'll change it to the one down here, but the only difference between that one and this one is this one is for everything. So this is the one I grabbed before. This is the one I grabbed the first time, but it should still get me. That's fine. It should still give it to me, but I'll paste it with this. SSM resource tag key. I wonder if that's the parts that's missing. Does anyone know what this SSM tag key is? Let's see. Additional SSM policies. You can create the policy from tasks only, the session manager console, and AWS CLI, or all three. Region. Yeah, this seems weird, but let's go ahead and switch this up. Here's what they said. Changing this up a lot. Cancel. Refresh. Let's see what we got here. I really want to make this work now. And so yeah, so everywhere EC2 instance star. That's what I was seeing before. I think this is the problem with resource tag. I don't know. Condition string like. I wonder if I can remove that condition, the condition statement, or if it says something about it below. Permission sync command attempts to start. Okay, but it doesn't talk about that at all. I'll save it, but I'm pretty sure. I wonder if the EC2 instance, they all have it. String like tag key. This is session manager and CLI. Let's try this. Oh, so it's I'm gonna remove the whole conditions field. I start everything and it's still not working. I think it's this conditions. I'm gonna remove the condition from here. So condition just adds another paradigm in which needs to be true for these for this to take effect, and I don't think we need this. And I think that's part of the problem. Also, define some actions, resources that do not provide permissions. To grant access, policies must have an action that is applicable. Is that what this is? Do not grant permissions. ID document SSM session manager run shell unrecognized resource type. Okay, let's see what that part is really quick. This is a bad document to tell us how to set this up, to be honest. But I'm gonna save these changes real quick. And we'll edit it again. The following instructions from clicking. Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure these are the same. So the instructions that you get from there are how to attach an IAM role to the instance. We know how to do that. These are the instructions that you get from there. We don't need to know how to attach the role. Like this is just telling us how to actually take a role that's created with the right permissions already and attach them together. We need to create the proper permissions. So this is replacing an IAM role, detaching an IAM role, but none of these are telling us how to set up the proper permissions to be able to access sessions manager. And I think that's the problem with this. But let's see. Maybe tag. I remove the condition. And what did it say? It said one of them didn't actually provide any permissions, so let's see which one that was. There's a warning in here, and we'll see which thing that is. The actions in your policy did not support resource level permissions and require you to choose all resources. So right here for the document SSM, so I need to give it a star wherever that is. Where is that? Scribe sessions, a star. So resources, I need to give this a star. That's what it seems like. Oh, I wonder if it's no, it's this US East. So Z. I think it's just US-East-1. I don't think I just changed it in all the right places, I think. And my account ID is all right, let's just try this one. Now it says still defines some, so I still may need to, oh no, the little thing went away. So save it and let's see if we still get some of those little weird errors. Oh, it went away. Okay, that makes me think we did this right, because the little orange you have a problem. Okay, no, this has it there. To grant access, policies must have an action that has an applicable resource condition, but it's not showing me which one's the problem. Maybe if I go back in here, it sounds like we're fine now, even though it still has an error, show remaining 120. Okay, no access to all these things. Describe window executions. No access. Don't know what that means. Let's edit it again. Resource. Yeah, I could star everything, but you said starring everything didn't work. This is actually interesting. Create document on resource. Yeah, I'm gonna star everything. I'm gonna star. This is not good to do, but I want to see if it works for me, since it didn't work for you. Star means everything. Let's star this. Review policy. Save changes. Remove oldest non-default. Select policy. Delete version and save. Okay, let's see if that works. And let's go back to Systems Manager. Interesting. Well, I don't know what the right policy is for session managers. Session manager is. I'm probably gonna dive into this a little bit later, to be honest, just because that's probably me. I'm gonna reference. I might try to reference our architecture at work, because we set this up before. Like I helped set this up before, but I don't remember what the stuff was. But yeah, see, told you, everybody doesn't know everything. You're still running the problems. We could be doing it right, and it could just be taking some time to attach, or we could be using the wrong tutorial. But yeah, it is not working for us. Oh yeah, I'm only getting the trenches just for the I don't know, it seemed like the session manager is actually, it's really valuable. Like it works, it makes things easier. And I was hoping, I forgot how much we had, I don't remember there being this much setup for it. So I thought it was gonna be an easy way for people who didn't really want to deal with logging in via SSH keys to get set up, because SSH keys can be very confusing. But looks like everyone's going to have to. It seems like it's gonna be easier just to use your SSH keys than to do it this way. I don't know. I was hoping for a little bit of actually, am I tripping? They still have an option to, they can't connect. They can only view. Yeah, you can only like get a screenshot. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure there wasn't another way to connect. There's not. Sometimes I forget some of the easier ways, but sorry, we didn't figure out how to use Session Manager. But we're all done. We're all done tonight. Sorry to keep you for so long. If I figure it out, I'll definitely give you the answer. Let me know if you figured it out as well. If anyone's messing around and trying to figure it out, there's probably some articles written on it. If there's not any articles written on it, if you are looking for a way to set yourself apart, when we do figure this out, or if you figure out on your own, write a Medium article about it, about the settings. Write a, go on Stack Overflow or something. We've already presented a perfect opportunity to improve Amazon's documentation. Amazon's documentation is also open source. You can contribute to Amazon's documentation. So stuff like this, you're able to give feedback on it. You're able to give them updates. You're able to do things like that. So do it. I highly suggest you do it because their documentation is not always great since there's so much of it. I forgot where you can go to go to it to contribute to it, but you can in fact contribute to it. But that's it for tonight. Long stream. Everyone go relax. Middle of the week. It's over hump day. That's the end of this. The end of Horizons for the week. You are now 24%, 25% of the way through what you need to do. So 2 weeks. You're 2 weeks down of the 8 weeks for Horizons. There's a lot more to come, but you're through the first chunk of it. You're 1/4 of the way through. Pretty easy to get through the next 6 weeks. Should be pretty simple, pretty fast. You should be, I'm telling you, you'll get there. You'll be like, dang, that went by so fast. And you'll be like, man, I feel like I didn't get I don't know all this stuff. And then when you start talking about it with people, you're like, oh, like, hey, I know what this is, and I know what an IAM role is, and I know what a policy is, and I know what an EC2 instance is. And now, like, I didn't know any command line before, but now at the very least I can move around the command line. Maybe I might have to look it up, but I know you can go forward and backward, and I know I can look and see where my files are, and and we're gonna pick up some new skills. You're gonna understand what a web server is. You're gonna actually create your own web server, so that'll be something fun that you've done. Before the end, you'll be like, dang, this is great. But cool, I can at least list the files in my S3 bucket. Yeah, you can list the files in your S3 bucket. But yeah, the raid, we're definitely raiding. Who are we raiding this beautiful evening? Let's see who we got here. Oh, whoa. Coding Garden's on. Let's head over to Coding Garden. Yeah, we'll head over to Coding Garden tonight and say hello. So let's head over. Raid. Is it it's just Coding Garden. Coding Garden. All right. Sorry we went down the rabbit hole a little bit. Yeah, he is a streaming machine for sure. I really don't understand. A lot of people here stream for long hours. Whenever I have nights like tonight, like a little bit longer than normal, I'm like, oh my gosh, that was so long. Like 3 hours is a long time. But all right, everybody, have a good night. See you tomorrow for Decoded. Tomorrow at Decoded, we are learning about how to display output in different languages, as well as how to do something else. It's output and formatting strings and things like that. We're gonna be learning all about strings, string manipulation, things like that. So check that out. Pipelines, we're gonna be doing some turning some on Saturday. We're gonna be turning some legacy infrastructure. We're gonna be distributing. We're gonna be learning about distributed systems on Saturday and starting to distribute those systems on Saturday. So peace out. Raid time. Coding Garden. Let them know I said hello. I'll be hanging out and listening while I'm responding to emails and stuff. Good night, everybody. See you tomorrow. And let's head over to Raid now. I'll see you later.